Annapolis, Maryland's capital city, is on Chesapeake Bay. We arrived and checked into the Westin Hotel. After a long travel day, we stopped at a bar for a little pick-me-up.
It definitely has an early American spooky vibe, so it was a great place to start our 3-city fall tour.
We got some rest and went out to do some nighttime exploration.
It's so different from the West Coast. It's quaint, and I never use that word.
One of my biggest fears is going to a cemetery at night, so Pat had a field day with that.
Unmarked soldiers.
See, look at the shadow on the tree.
Come on, let's go explore. Hey, what if we played this back and saw people?
Stick around for when I make Persephone go through the cemetery later.
Spirit binders.
Public storage has a lighthouse.
All right, you just went to your first cemetery at night.
I didn't like it.
How you feel? It gave you the poops?
It did. At any given time, we be hungry. So we went to the famous Chicken Ruth Deli to meet up with my best friend, with whom we actually surprised.
You gonna do it? Diabetes? To get a t-shirt? Or whatever?
Bragging rights.
The crab cakes were massive and delicious. Steph's girl Martini pulled up on us to show us around.
I came for you.
I can't not believe it's literally. She's 5 minutes away. All the way from California. If that ain't if that ain't what they give me, I don't want it.
Where you want it?
White. Close the
We ended up going to an arcade called the Game On Bar. It was filled with retro arcade games and pinball machines.
That's the first alcohol I ever had.
It even sold 21 plus Capri Sun pouches with liquor in them. So much nostalgia.
Who's winning?
Look at him. Pat got some moves on him. The next day, we walked over to Taw's Garden. This 5-acre garden includes a Western Maryland forest, a streamside environment, and an Eastern Shore peninsula.
The trees were beautiful.
What do the leaves do?
They fall off. They're like...
Being born and raised in Los Angeles, I never really experienced the changing leaves. It really is magical.
I've never seen a bridge bench before.
In addition, the barrier-free garden contains pleasant ponds, a raised planter, and plants of varied textures, tastes, and fragrances.
Stripper pole? Really? Wow.
Look at this waffle rock. Those squares happen naturally. Crazy, right?
We definitely jazzed up our time around the garden with silliness. Look at us.
Twerking in the forest, twerking in the forest.
Take a seat. Pat stepped in some poop. What happened here, Pat?
I stepped on the one piece of that's out here.
You knew food was coming next. We stopped at Miss Shirley's Cafe for some unique entrees. The food was fantastic.
We ordered cran apple cider mimosas and some chorizo cheeseburger fried deviled eggs. Persephone got the challah French toast with sausage and eggs, and I got the chicken and cheddar green onion waffles. Super unique menu.
We did a lot of walking this trip. We visited some historic landmarks, but we got there just as they were closing, so we got to enjoy it from the outside.
We ended up at the city docks. Boats, shops, and locals were all around. Quaint.
We then randomly got in a water taxi and had him take us on an unofficial tour of the harbor.
We just told them we wanted to tag along while they worked. We're such tourists.
All right, so I'm about to do a water taxi. Just a little cruise, random but fun.
How old are you? Pretty close.
The water taxi picked people up from their boats, different docks, and even from restaurants. What a life out here, right?
On the way back, we saw a Kunta Kinte Alex Haley Memorial.
We chilled with Kunta Kinte from Roots for a quick second. Then we did the exact opposite of what he would suggest. We went and got on a random ship.
crazy.
This was a literal pirate ship that still sailed.
And is this like a public thing that goes out sometimes? Or like
Sometimes it's public.
Ooh, look at that view.
see the sunset vibes?
I see you. It's so pretty. Now, you know, if we gonna do anything, we gonna eat. So we then went to Chop Tank's Steakhouse for some good eats.
We got the Maryland crab dip, along with a Long Island iced tea and a drink called Tell No Tales.
Ew. I tried to freak Pat out sometimes. I think the knives worked.
Wow, you almost killed yourself.
For the main event, an 8-ounce filet and a 12-ounce New York strip, both topped with rock shrimp scampi.
Happy dance. Happy dance. Happy dance.
Mink, mink, mink. Oh.
Hit that. Hit that.
The food was bussin'.
Air flip.
The walk back was interesting. This giant Elmo was just creepy, but not as creepy as where we were going.
Take your in there, right there. No, go in right there, since you're so froggy.
That's grass.
You are froggy. Go in right here.
Are going in at the next one.
We are not doing any of that.
I was
There's no
scared.
lights right here.
You're right.
There's no lights right
No,
here.
you're right
So
about
you
that.
mean to tell me
But we got to
that...
have our own light.
Wait, what are you doing? Patrick.
I wanted Persephone to face her biggest fear, so I just disappeared into the cemetery in a cloud of spooky smoke. Aren't I supportive?
I can't go any further. I felt sick to my stomach, but all in all, I was happy I did it and survived. I don't ever want to do that again.
Really? It's a strong black woman right here. How could you have any fear right now? I just cleansed you.
Who are you, Jesus Christ?
No, I'm just somebody who helped you through a traumatizing situation.
You literally just completed your biggest fear. There was crosses. It was pitch black. How you feel? You feel like you dominated? Give me a celebration dance. Force it. Celebration dance. Huh. Celebration dance. Huh. Celebration dance. Huh.
We packed up and headed to St. Michael's for a day to explore the city.
It was a long Uber drive. So long that the driver told us there was no Uber or Lyft where we were going, and we might be stuck. That was promising.
St. Michael's is a town in Talbot County, Maryland. It was traditionally a center of farming, boat building, crabbing, and tonging for oysters.
Since it was so last minute, the only place we could find was a small inn not too far from the downtown area. It was quaint.
She even got spine bumps in her thong. You ain't got no ass.
That hoodie came with 2 tacos and a jar, nigga.
At the time, roast meat was in post-production, so I had to make time for that.
The town is so small that transportation is slim. This became a problem for us.
We walked to downtown St. Michael's, which is a long street of old Victorian buildings turned into little shops and bars. Quaint. We even saw a small graveyard at a church, which gave Persephone flashbacks.
Patrick, come back. Patrick. I'm staying away from graveyards. You don't want to go in the church?
The town's decorations were festive.
I'm melting.
We stopped into the Carpenter Street Fig Saloon for some drinks.
Time to eat. We went to the Crab Claw for some delicious food.
Our table was right on the water. Like if I stretched too hard, it would be over. The water was also filled with tiny white jellyfish. This table was treacherous for no reason. I felt like Indiana Jones. The place was run by people who must have majored in crab studies. They knew what they were doing. But we're black, so somehow we ended up with chicken wings. They had Old Bay on them, though. Of course, we ordered crab imperial, which is baked jumbo crab meat in creamy imperial sauce. It's a local favorite. Cake burger with homemade slaw. It was so soft. After a boat literally pulled up to our table, we decided we wanted to get on a watercraft also. So we went to the Chesapeake Bay Maritime Museum, which is basically an old shipyard.
Performance time. Y'all know I channeled my inner Janet Jackson. We heard a little turned-up bar, so we stopped in for some drinks. A drunk bridal party came over to hang with us. They were amazed to see black people that they didn't know in the town.
What? No, honestly, what are you doing in Maine?
We just be going to random places.
How do you, on a scale from 1 to 10, how do you feel about Maryland?
We like it.
They were cool.
A lot of
They really liked Persephone. Like, really liked it.
Look at how gorgeous you are. What do you mean?
I don't think there's a lot of black people out here.
So, we
we stranded?
Getting out of this town. It's us. And then if I zoom out, it's like,
We realized we were stuck in St. Michael's. No Ubers, lifts, buses, trains, or taxis.
It's looking like it's gonna be an interesting story on how we get out of here. Keep you updated.
Long story short, we found a random business card of a private driving service in the lobby of the inn. She was a nice lady. She took us all the way to Dover, Delaware. She drove really fast.
Oh, Delaware, a small mid-Atlantic U.S. state that sits on a peninsula marked by dune-backed beaches bordering the Atlantic Ocean.
We stopped by Delaware State University and had a look around. It was a nice campus. Delaware is beautiful. Vibrant fall trees, gorgeous bodies of water. It had a real Paul Revere vibe to it, if you get what I'm saying.
As soon as we arrived, it was time to eat. We stopped at McGlynn's Pub for some fire food. The atmosphere was so peaceful and quiet.
I usually don't like pubs because they feel racist. This one was really inviting though, and the lakeside eating area was amazing. We ordered crab and shrimp deviled eggs,
Different.
Got the crab, the shrimp.
a Philly cheese queso dip. The food here was delectable. A farmhouse burger, and the French onion steak sandwich, which was cooked in French onion soup. Woo!
The main place where the settlers came, to do everything.
Upon exploring the city, we were stopped by a really fun restaurant bartender who convinced us to come in for drinks, music, and to try their specialty menu items. They also gave us ideas of the best places to go.
The owner of the spot came out and hooked us up with some food. Taco Tuesday.
So this is called Coma Taco. A Coma Taco because it has 3 different types of cheeses inside that jalapeno. Then I have a special cheese that's from Mexico called Oaxaca cheese.
Ooh, I like the double shell.
Yeah.
Everyone's customer service always.
There it is. Ooh.
Look at this crazy cemetery.
I think Pat enjoys torturing me with cemeteries.
Wish this gate wasn't here. We should get on the other side of it.
We walked around some more, and I'm not gonna lie, this part of town was kinda spooky, which was perfect because the locals at the bar told us about a haunted attraction called Frightland.
So, We about to go to Frightland. So I guess this is your way of getting prepared.
Yeah, we're about to be interacting with the spirits, so we might as well start off with a nice little old school stone graveyard cemetery for the land, where a lot of powdered wigs were laid to rest.
You and these powdered wigs.
That evening, we went to one of the nation's most terrifying Halloween carnivals, Frightland, in Middleton, Delaware. So scary, the Travel Channel rated it in the top 10 scariest haunted attractions in the U.S., and I concur.
We were pleasantly surprised. There were carnival games, all types of food.
We saw some sweet treats and decided to try them. We had a fried PB&J and a funnel cake. The fried PB&J was something special.
And of course, the haunted mazes. The visuals, costumes, and overall aesthetic was awesome.
They didn't really let us film in the mazes and haunted houses, but we caught some of the creepiness.
Yep. Oh, okay. We gotta go in there.
Not to mention the mazes were scary. There was a prison maze, a haunted hayride, and a maze that was pitch black. So creepy.
You look spooky.
Frightland was an insanely great time. Highly recommended for Halloween lovers.
I had a fantastic time on this trip. I would definitely recommend exploring Maryland, St. Michael's, and Delaware. Until next time, keep your bags packed.
Howdy, y'all.
Howdy, partner.
Happy Halloween. It's good to be back.
Happy Halloween to you too, sir.
Whoa. Hang on. I gotta put my horse up in a stable real quick. Hang on. Give me a second.
It looked like he kind of drunk.
Whoa. Okay.
Whoa. What you been giving that horse to drink?
All right. We're back. We put my horse up.
Okay, you got your horse in the stable.
Got the horse all set up.
He kind of started tripping in there.
He got a little salt lick. We are in the fall season. Shout out to y'all for pulling up for summer.
Oh my God. Like y'all really
pulled up.
Yes. We have so many views on all of our episodes. We really appreciate it. And we know that y'all really, really like the show. So we doing something right.
And the exciting thing about the fall season is this was done like a year ago.
Right.
So we went right when the leaves were perfect, when the leaves were leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And we're both from LA, so I don't know how much time you spent in the East Coast or New England or stuff.
No.
I never really got a fall.
No.
Never really got the foliage.
Mm-hmm.
So this was very cool. And we went on Halloween.
We did. What's going on with your hat? I just want to know.
It's a horrible cowboy hat. You got the whole Beyonce disco ball thing.
Yes.
I look like a cartoon bad guy.
Put him up.
Put him up. But no, this was a really fun trip. We were able to put 3 cities into one, and they were initially going to be all separate episodes, but we're like, hey, this is the season premiere. You guys been pulling up for the longer episodes, so why not put it all together for a Halloween special?
Yep. So we did 3 places this time. We did Maryland, St. Michael's, and Delaware.
So, I mean, we back. We might as well just jump right into it.
Yep.
Before we do the foods, this is the first time we had multiple cities. What was your favorite city?
I would say my favorite city was Dover / Middleton because the people there were just so lively and fun.
Yeah.
And then it was just kind of weird. We went from walking in like a prestigious neighborhood, and then it seemed like as soon as we crossed the street, we were in like Slumville. But it was like, it kind of reminded me of LA having like hidden gems like in crazy little areas.
There were some spooky parts of every city, honestly. When you in a city that's that old and they just have cemeteries everywhere going back to the 1800s and stuff, like it does give a spooky vibe. LA just seems like new, you know, like everything just seems like it's been here for 45 years.
Every time you say cemetery, I get a little shook.
Oh, we gonna talk about it. I want to say my favorite spot was Annapolis.
Okay.
I think out of the 3 cities, Annapolis was just like, it had like a major city vibe to it. And, being ignorant about New England, I'd be kind of like weary about everything. In terms of just being black there. But Annapolis,
for sure.
it was a cool little mixing pot. It was a lot of different people. And I think that the food was best there too.
Okay. Yeah. For sure.
We'll definitely get into that because we were eating on this trip. The 2 themes of this trip specifically for me was food and spontaneity. Because it seemed
chomping down.
Everything we did was just on a whim. We were just told about things, just hopped on stuff, went places, and we didn't really know anything that we were doing. This was way before we were like strict on our itinerary.
Right. For sure. I enjoyed every part of this trip. From the people was really what made it for me, but then there was the food that was amazing, and then just the atmosphere, like the air just felt kind of clean. Like, and I'm pretty big about clean air.
Yeah. So many trees.
So the views were just viewing. It was beautiful.
So let's just jump into it then. What was your favorite dish out of all 3 cities?
I think it was when we went to Chop Tank.
That was in Annapolis, right?
In Annapolis.
Okay.
And we had the steak with the shrimp scampi on top. Oh my God, just the butter was just dripping down. And it was so succulent. Succulent. It was cooked to perfection. I'm big on cooking temps, so they got it right. It was so good.
There was a lot of good food in Annapolis. I mean, the crab is just different out there. It seemed like every single place had the crab on deck. But I'm actually going to give the prize to St. Michael's when we were in Crab Claw.
Okay.
I thought that eating experience overall was so bizarre. Like, I've never, with liabilities and stuff in LA, like I've never seen a table placed so close to the edge. There was no guardrail.
If you would have sneezed, it would have been over.
You are literally looking dead at the water, and there was jellyfish in them. I don't know anything about that species of jellyfish, if they would have hurt you or not. But it was just
they were very small, but there was a lot of them.
It was a really intense situation, but it was very scenic and very different. And then, they gave us the Old Bay wings. They gave us the crab imperial, which I had never heard of. Just that nice crab dip with the chunky crab meat, the jumbo crab. And then I had the crab cake burger, which was you could see it in the shot. It was just the bread was soft, the crab cake was
fantastic.
fried, so good. So overall, that experience was great.
That restaurant was so funny to me because we don't have this on camera, but they don't have Lyft and Ubers and stuff like that around the town. So we were constantly trying to figure out like how we were gonna get to
Anywhere.
the next spot. And one of the waitresses offered her friend to come and take us
One of
to
the cooks.
one of the cooks.
He was like, "Yeah, Randy's about to get off in 10 minutes. He could take you back." And we were like, "That is very nice, but absolutely not." Tell Randy thanks, but
Thanks, but no thanks.
We'll
we
hoof it.
ended up kind of regretting that decision later, but
I mean, he wouldn't have taken us to Dover. For
hey,
sure.
he might have.
That was a really cool part of the trip. Like I said, the spontaneity in terms of like we didn't know what was going on. We went to St. Michael's randomly.
So I would say if you're ever going to St. Michael's, you definitely want to rent a car.
Rent a car.
Rent
Because
a
you
car.
saw the GPS on our phone. It was like on this what are those things called? The archipelago? It's like an island, but it ain't an island.
I'm gonna
it's
say
it's attached to the land.
I called the Lyft at like 4:00 in the morning. So I had set it up to pick us up at 8:15.
And they were like, "Yep, we got
and
you."
it was, we got you. So from 4:00 in the morning all the way on, it was saying searching for a ride.
Mhm.
And I was just like, oh my God, we're not going to get out of here.
I feel like they said like, "Okay, you good," and then when the time came, they were like, "We don't have anybody
Right,
for you."
you're not good.
So at least they gave us like peace of mind overnight. But then in the morning, they were like, "Remember what you asked last night?"
Right.
Couldn't find them.
So a little married couple has a car service.
Yeah,
I think the only car service in the city like that.
that was
so.
lucky. We just found that business card. But I mean, this to me, this is all part of the activities too. You know, like we weren't on helicopters and doing all this crazy stuff, but the activities to me was walking around, seeing everything, you know, jumping on random taxis, jumping in random cars, going to Frightland. So that brings us to the activities. I think it's a wash in terms of what the funnest activity is. So I'm gonna go a different route, but I'll let you go first.
So I will take the obvious, and the obvious for me was Frightland.
So fun.
Oh, so fun. So those different mazes that we went through, I really wish we could have got those in camera, but they have rules against filming. But
That's how you know it's good.
The final maze that we went through, the pitch black, it was pitch black, and they had like a red light that you were supposed to follow. But then sometimes you couldn't see the red light, or it blinked or went off. So you got a little confused. And then you feel something like brush against your leg. And then you're hearing all these like monster sounds. And then some are right in your ear. And then you feel like you're being followed. So it was like, but you couldn't see a thing.
That's why it was so scary, because we're used to those Universal Studios mazes where there's so much production value that everything's lit up. You see everything, you see all the makeup, because they're like, this is professionally done.
Right.
Look at all of it. But when you take your sight completely out of the maze, it's just your imagination.
Right.
And then everything is 10 times scarier.
Yep.
So the theme was finding your way out of an attic. So everything was
Right.
old and wooden, but there was literally like people in all black suits lifting little compartments out of the wall so that they can reach out and touch you or grab you, or, you know, like do little things. There was even a part where there was a small hallway and there was just people's hands were just like going like this and you had to go through it. Terrifying.
Thank you for leading us through that. You know what made it even more terrifying for me? They played with your emotions, because we went through the maze and then we went out. So we got outside. So I'm like, oh, it's over. Like, that was scary.
Oh, right.
And then we had to go back in.
You think you're done, and then there's a staircase that leads back into the dark.
Leads back into the dark. And that was it just took it to the next level for me, because you had already had that relief and then you're just right back in it. So there's no way out. Like you going through the trenches either way. You can't turn around and go back, and you got to go forward. So I was just like, oh
one
my
thing
God.
they didn't have that all mazes have, you know how there's just like employees kind of like standing there like, go this way, keep going. It was not like that. Like, you literally had to fight your way out, and there were other groups that were get lost that were ahead of us, and we were just bumping into them like, whoa, who the hell are you? And they're like, we were before you. We've been here for 2 months.
Yeah, I was freaked out.
I loved it. I think Frightland was probably had some of the scariest mazes I've ever been to, and it's actually worth going all the way to Delaware if you're like super into Halloween, because we came back to some of these LA haunted mazes. They were boof in comparison. They were taking us around parking lots that were like
The
transformed.
hayride.
We were seeing the handicap stickers in the
Mhm.
bathrooms and
The
stuff.
LA hayride versus the Delaware
Oh my
hayride.
God! Just don't do the LA.
Yeah.
one. Just don't do
It's
it.
like doing LA is like doing a hayride in the daytime, and
Well, I mean, they have
Delaware is
naturally scary cornfields that are just there all year.
Mhm.
So we don't
Right.
really. So I mean, they just have to make do in a parking lot of a baseball stadium.
it was
or
like
something.
a park or
Yeah.
something. We saw the handicap parking spots. We saw the
Mhm.
park bathroom, the light.
Real janky, but it's really cool that like there are places like this out there, and we're so lucky. We just stumbled upon like an award-winning top 10 in the country. What's it called? The Scream Park. I read that. But okay, so my activity was actually way more lackluster, but just in terms of the experience and how random it was a lot of fun. And I'm gonna say the water taxi. That's so boring.
Really?
So
Okay.
boring. But just to go to like the city docks, it was just completely lively. It reminded me of the Grove. It was just like all these like little shops, people walking around, pumpkins everywhere. And we were just kind of like walking on the dock. We were like, water taxi, what's that? And they told us, and we are like, all right. We paid like, what, $13 or something?
And then we just didn't get out. Like,
Yeah, we're
it's
just
like
like,
getting
do
on the
your
subway
rounds.
and just not getting off.
Yeah,
you know?
like somebody from like, Europe going to New York and be like, this is the subway, huh? Cool. And that is an experience if you've
Right.
never experienced it, but the locals are just like, what are you doing?
Right.
And we were just literally like seeing people like going up to yachts and people's sailboats, and they were just like, hey, what's up, Jim? And jumping in, and like couples and families were leaving restaurants and just instead of going to a parking lot, they'd walk to the end of the pier and a boat would pick them up. Like I was just
Right.
like, this is really cool.
Yeah, that was my first time being in a water taxi.
Uh-huh.
And I didn't even know that existed like that. So seeing that people just hop in, take them around to another side, hop out, go to their little restaurant, to be dropped off at a yacht in the middle of the water, I was just like, wow.
Very
to be
cool.
dropped off and picked up, it was like,
Different life.
dang, like
They
I'm
live in a
over
whole
here
different
living.
life. I just want to let you know that I lied. That wasn't my favorite thing. I just wanted to talk about it. We all know what my favorite thing was, and that was the Suka Cemetery. There was a cemetery on every square block. And she was so scared. It was awesome. We walked
I
past
think,
it.
Why does it make you so satisfied to see me scared? I think because
It's cool.
I'm like, I put on this hard exterior to where I'm just like always good, that you don't typically ever really see me scared. So that is something I was just like absolutely terrified. And you
So
just
good.
ate it up like a bowl of cereal.
I like cemeteries at night. It's a
Why?
It's a cool little aesthetic.
That is not cool.
I mean, I don't think zombies are gonna come up. Like, I'm more afraid of ghosts and stuff than that.
Well, you walk right through one right as soon as we walked in there.
It doesn't seem like there's any like real danger. You know?
What about possession?
Okay, I mean that, but I don't know if that happens at graveyards like that, That just be happening in little white girls' houses.
Look,
So
the
obviously
graveyard
you
was
don't
like, oh, we usually have to go to them, but that came to us. Like
Convenience.
Convenience.
It was fun because it was exciting. It seemed like we kind of like broke in because the gates were all raggedy, and you did your thing. We went through the creepy old one. We went through the veteran one. We went through the small one in St. Michael's, and there was one in Dover. They were just all over the place, but I like the one in Annapolis.
You was scared to touch that grass, though.
Yeah.
That was the only thing.
I need a
like,
pathway. I'm not going off road in a graveyard. All right, so that was food and activities. Skin tuition. This is a new segment we're doing in fall. You might have seen a preview of it in the Niagara. Skin tuition is how we felt as Black people out there, and I think that is more custom to our experience than just the general crime out there. So let's talk about it. What was your skin tuition in all three places?
So, for the most part, I was good. There was one situation where I was just like, Lord, it just felt like we were in the movie Get Out. And it was right after we came from the arcade.
So
Annapolis. We were in Annapolis. We were walking back from the arcade, and a pickup truck with tinted windows. It probably, I don't remember, but it might have had an American flag on the back. I could be lying. But It passed us by, and we were the only ones walking on the street, which is one red flag. There was nobody else out. They drove past us and then made a U-turn. And once they made a U-turn, I said, oh,
Yeah.
snap.
And U-turns in LA are so illegal that, when you see a U-turn, especially paired with a tire burn or a tire skirt, something's up.
I was just like, oh, Lord, please just let us get out of this situation alive. And
But nothing happened.
So nothing happened. Nothing happened. They passed us up. But that was just the only time that I was kind of jumbled.
I disagree. I think that at the arcade itself,
that too,
you did have a moment where you felt like, we were the only black people in there. The bartender was super nice.
Yes.
But I guess there was just like people there that they were looking a little,
They did not like our presence there. They did not. And I say you mad dogging, and me mugging.
Mm-hmm. I didn't see it. But you were pretty jumbled up about it. And we knew Martini out there, but that was it. So
right.
we don't be just going into random cities and acting like we own the place. So
right.
we're very aware, and once you peeped it, we were like, all right, for sure.
Yeah.
Awareness on 100.
I went to another part of the arcade. Like, let me just get away from that energy. So
yeah. So I mean, in terms of Annapolis as a whole, I agree. There were like little moments and flashes. I think we actually even met a black dude who was up there for like something to do with medicine or just something to do with his job, and he felt the exact same way. He was like, "Are there black people up here? Like, are we good?" And I think him and us, we kind of like agreed that it was surprisingly chill.
Right.
For
sure.
In terms of us, we were out at night. You saw us. We were walking the whole time. Only a few incidents, but for the most part, Annapolis seemed like a major city. It seemed very, very cool. St. Michael's was pretty much like the opposite. It was like a small town. But you saw the reaction to foreign black people. It was just like, whoa, what's up? How y'all doing? Where y'all from?
Right.
So it wasn't like the same type of like, hey, who are them? And even the waiter offered a ride home. So that whole place, honestly, of the three, I felt the safest in St. Michael's.
Yeah, for sure. It's a really, really small town. I was looking at the population a few years ago, and it was only 1,000. So it's a really, really small.
Really chill.
I had more than 1,000 people at my high school.
They have giant boat shows there, and I feel like they only do those in like little towns, So it was a cool experience. Definitely felt safe there. Dover, I probably felt the least safe in.
Really?
Yeah, because I mean, like,
when we walked on that street with the cemetery,
we walked on that part, which was after the bar. It was a little seedy. And then there was a couple of areas around the pub that did feel like a little
downtown LA-ish.
Yeah, but like there was no part where I felt like I was, I don't know, like about to be harmed or anything.
It was a little skittish over there.
It was just a little like looks, kind of like that, just like having that awareness. If you know it's too much, you don't want people showing up to your Airbnb with torches and stuff.
Right.
But I think out of all three, Dover I felt the least safe in, but I didn't feel unsafe. There was a couple parts that were a little weird, but for the most part, my skin tuition for the whole trip, I would say, I don't know, out of a 10. Being the most safe, I would say it was like at a 7.
Okay, I agree.
7 out of 10.
Yep,
for sure.
7.5 for me.
I
have a travel hack.
Okay.
And it's really simple, and we kind of already brushed over it. And I don't know if I've said this before, but I think I have when we went to Laguna. Make sure you leave room for local suggestions. So you saw for us throughout our trip, it was very spontaneous. And but my biggest thing was Frightland. That was your favorite activity. And that was something that was a local suggestion. We didn't know about that when we woke up that morning.
Right.
But we went to a bar, talked to some people. What is there to do around here? They ended up telling us about one of the most dynamic haunted carnivals, scream parks in the U.S. So had we not talked to the locals and left some room in our itinerary for that, we might have missed that opportunity. So make sure you leave room in your itinerary for local suggestions. Don't pack your day with everything that you've Googled and searched.
That's a good one. I think that it's super easy to be a slave to your itinerary and get overly excited before you go to a place and be like, all right, TripAdvisor said this. At 3 o'clock, we're doing this. At 4:30, we're doing this. At 6, we're doing this. And then you get tired. You eat the wrong meal. You know, you want to just like chill. There's a lot of things that the itinerary, you could overdo it. And like you said, you can, miss out on some things that are just like in the moment.
And you can tell the locals like where you've been in that city if you've been there for a while, and they'll be like, why'd you go there? Like you should have went to X, Y, and Z. So it's like it's really important. That's a huge
don't just aim for the big stuff in that city. Talk to people. Ask around what's the cool low-key things to do out here, because I know I'd be tired as hell when people come to LA for the first time and they're like, the Hollywood Walk of Fame, the observatory, and it's like, bro, we don't do that.
Right.
So yeah, that's a great travel hack. And I guess mine would just be piggybacking off of yours, just be spontaneous. Those are the best moments, really, like planning something and making it and getting there on time and doing it. That's cool, but like just being like, what's that? Let's do it. I feel like that's a really, really memorable thing on your trip, and there was not one pre-planned thing on this entire trip. Like everything was just like, what's this? Let's go. What is this? Let's go. So
and
definitely.
We ended up staying at the Bates Motel in St. Michael's.
It wasn't that bad. It was quaint. That was my word of the episode, was quaint. But I hope you guys had a quaint time watching this season premiere. We are in the fall, and I'm really excited about this season.
I'm excited too.
Oh, I'm so glad you didn't do that the whole time.
Why?
Okay. All right, you guys. Just so you guys know, the fall season has amazing cities like Portland, Maine coming up, Vancouver, Canada, and some other surprises. So, all right, you guys, we will see you at the next city. I've been Patrick Cloud.
And I'm Persephone.
Keep your bags packed. Later, guys.
Bags packed, y'all.
Okay.
Y'all.
Growing up in California, I've always wondered one thing. What the heck is happening in Maine?
Just drive.
We're lost.
We went to a random bar called the Flask Lounge, and it was hip-hop night. It was perfect. Exactly what I pictured, actually. The people who were there were getting it, though. It was incredible. We got an Airbnb on the maniest street we could find. It looked like Family Guy.
It is Tuesday morning, and we're about to go have some breakfast, and then we're going to do a little boat ride. So I'm excited. It's looking really beautiful out here. I can't wait to see what the day holds for us. Hey, ready to get the day started?
Yeah, mainly.
Oh my God, bye.
Took this long. Now we can't have breakfast.
Oh, wow.
It took 3 hours.
It did not.
Yeah, okay.
We headed to Long Wharf, where we saw some really cool historical pieces, including a piece of the Berlin Wall.
I know it's random, but I'm a huge fan of lighthouses. We got on a boat tour that took us around Portland's coast to talk about them. There's so many. Maine is known for their seafood, and the chef on board made fresh lobster rolls for us. We were the youngest people who were there by choice. We like doing retired people stuff sometimes.
Pat is obsessed with lighthouses, so he got a nice view of several of them as we sailed around the city.
Even though I was dressed like Bill Murray, I was having a great time.
We're out here on a little cruise around the harbors of Maine. We've seen a bunch of forts and lighthouses. Actually really cool. How you feeling?
Good. Anchored.
We got a chance to visit the Bug Light, a tiny lighthouse in South Portland.
We lighthousing it up. This is the small chody one. But I like it now.
Kind of thick though.
It is.
Low key.
Girth. Lighthouse got girth.
Caution, slippery when wet. We stood on a floating deck, and I can't say that I was comfortable with it. My knees were shaking. Next, we went to the Spring Point Ledge Lighthouse, which has a really spooky vibe to it.
That's how I know we tripping. He's like, get out of here. Hurry up. Run. Coochie, coochie, coochie. No, it's not real. What? Hey. What are you doing? And just like that, all we had to do was go through the forest and the ancient ruins. Up the stairs, down the stairs, through this Civil War park. And then that's how you get to the lighthouse.
It looked way too dangerous.
We were not gonna risk being swept away by the seven seas.
Oh, gotta be kidding me.
We went to hang out by the cannons instead. It's crazy to think that Maine had it on them like that.
Spooky lighthouse.
Crazy.
Hanging out where cannons, they used to attack ships coming through. Really jig it. Yeah. Shoot the cannon. Got it.
We ended up going to a seaside restaurant called Shipyard that had live music. We had some fresh New England clam chowder and some crab cake burgers. So damn good.
Tom Cruise pulled up to cut a rug with Persephone. They were juking and jiving.
Afterwards, we roamed Portland and found some cool bars with secret entrances.
Anyone who knows me knows I love a good bookcase entrance.
That bar must have really been exclusive because they kicked us out immediately.
We found a sports bar called Gino's that had an interesting sign out front. We were okay with these rules though.
Defense, let's go. Defense is the best defense. Come on. End it like that. End it like that. Oh, no.
You are missing it.
It's a pass.
There were all types of games in there. It was a great random time.
We walked back to the crib, as you can see. We were kind of lit.
Oh, baby, by the way, oh, that I will. Do a little skip. Tell me that I'll poop poop. No, at the end of the day. No, at the end of the day. Touch. Doon, 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 doon. Touch. Doon, 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 doon. Touch. Doon, doon, doon. There's a seagull. Anyways, doon, 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 doon. Touch.
You got the keys now, sir?
Today we decided to drive to New Hampshire, which is known for their vibrant fall foliage. But first, breakfast.
I got a cinnamon bun pancake with cream cheese icing. I could just feel the rolls coming in.
How you like it?
I got the corned beef hash. But I'm going to tell you this. It was trash.
I like it.
We got on the road and headed towards the New Hampshire border. The trees were unreal.
We're in Maine, and we are driving to Conway, New Hampshire, day 3.
So many colors! Woo! Overwhelming!
Maine, mate.
Did you have fun?
Wow. That's when we recorded, huh?
We had such a good time looking at the trees that we ran out of sunlight. We had to drive back in a storm. It was terrifying.
We needed to eat after all of that, so we went to David's Steakhouse. We ordered open-faced lobster ravioli, which isn't ravioli at all. It was delicious though.
We also got Carpaccio GF Plus, which is some type of Caesar tenderloin with arugula, and of course, a cup of chowder.
Stripper activities.
We hopped on a food tour, which I didn't even know was a thing.
And this is a food tour where you're going to eat, okay? So, let's see. We covered the EpiPens. I don't have to stab anybody. Nobody's got any allergies. I like to have a cocktail at one place, appetizer at another place, entree at another place, dessert somewhere else, and then I'll have an after-dinner drink. That makes 5 restaurants in one meal. I'm in, okay?
What better way to explore a new city?
You got clam chowder. That's the best one. You got the seafood chowder. That's number 2.
We started off at Gilbert's Chowder House, which is known for, you guessed it, chowder. We sat with this random family. It was a fun time. We then headed over to a spot called Andy's. This is where the next tasting was.
This is Portland. This is where we're at. Some of the best gin you've ever had. A couple of gin places, a couple of other places, all walkable and all with tasting rooms.
We started with a beer tasting, and as you can see, Pat loved it. Then we tried some fish tacos made with haddock.
Tiffany haddock.
It looks exactly the same right now as it did in the 70s.
We walked through this really nice area on the harbor and got a look at the everyday life of Portland.
We stopped by the water and were taught how to shuck fresh oysters.
Up right here. What do you do when you pick an oysters? You knock them together, and you see how they sound like they're like they fell on the ground, like a stone. That means they're viable and good. When you hear one that sounds like this, yeah. See, are you hiding already? Okay. Would you like to try one? No. Because I picked a really small one for you. I am a purist, so I only like lemon on my oysters, all right? These are called Clearwater Coves, and they're from about 5 miles off the ocean here. Very delicious. They have a lot of zinc and a lot of protein. It's the biggest one I have. I'm just joking. I wouldn't do that.
Shoot it.
It looks like an alien.
Hold on, let me get it.
Big old alien booger.
Swallow it. His face was worse than yours. Oh.
Was it good?
Now you guys gotta go have oysters, right?
Salty.
Buggery. Like sausage.
It does, doesn't it? And there's no bacon in it.
We washed those down with some Vienna sausages for some reason.
Our next stop was Wharf Street, a lively brick-layered area with shops and restaurants. we headed into Rigby Yard, a local known spot known for their lobster rolls.
You like it?
Like candy.
The lobster out here is so good. Our last stop on the tour was Dean's Sweets, a chocolate shop that has the most gourmet flavors ever.
Hello.
Oh, thank you so much.
Not bad.
The food tour was fantastic. We got so many flavors of Maine in such a short amount of time.
Enter over the tombstone and give that.
We had some time to kill before our flight home, so we went to Fort Williams Park to see one last lighthouse, the Portland Headlight.
Trying to play pickleball.
This was by far the most amazing lighthouse we've been to. It was right out of a screensaver.
Patrick walks like a soft puke.
The walk down to the water was treacherous, but the views were worth it.
Mine. Oh, okay.
We explored the area around the lighthouse, which consisted of historical places and objects, as well as Fort Williams. We said goodbye to Portland and headed to the jetport. Until next time, keep your bags packed. All right, we are back in the We Trippin' headquarters. That was Maine.
Yes.
Can we just shout this out real quick?
It's so cool.
Shout out to Andrew and the Burbank Podcast Studios. This is a magnet. You guys have probably been seeing it since episode 1. Sometimes it spins, sometimes it doesn't. This is so hard to do.
But Andrew makes sure that he comes and gets it spinning for us, at least for the first half of the wrap-up.
It's just floating there with science.
It's amazing.
Pretty crazy. I just want you guys to understand what's happening right here.
I gotta
and
give you credit
appreciate it.
too, because you found it. So
I did buy it, but if it were up to me, it would just be stuck on top. So shout out to science. Shout out to Burbank Podcast Studios. Maine.
Portland, Maine.
Portland, Maine. This was a very special trip to me.
Yeah.
Because like I said earlier, when I was a kid, I first saw that map in elementary school, all the other places in our country. The two things I was like, what's going on in Florida? What's going on in Maine?
So you like edges of the country, pretty much.
It was like the head of the U.S. and like the toe of the U.S.
So what is California? The butt?
It's the booty cheeks.
It's the booty cheeks?
Booty cheeks.
Damn.
The rear. But we're also amazing. But yeah, I've always just wondered like what is going on in Maine. I figured that, you know, it wasn't a very black place. From what I've heard about New England, that's where the first Americans were. Just a lot of like, not a lot of incentive for a black to go.
A huge part of my life, I just forgot about Maine.
You forgot?
It's so far northeast.
I always
that
wondered.
it's like kind of out of sight, out of mind. You don't really think about it. You don't really hear about it too much. So it's kind of like that whole like northeastern side, New England side, outside of clam chowder to me. Honestly, I hadn't really heard too much about Maine or what there is to do in Maine.
It was clam chowder and the Patriots. New England Patriots. Family Guy. You know, that was like my peek into New England. But I was actually very, very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
The neighborhoods, all the brick and colonial architecture, super into the fact that the leaves change, which we don't really get a lot of in California.
Right.
It was really like a beautiful place. And the fact that we chose Portland, which is pretty much the same rules we used for Annapolis, Maryland. We found the main city, the big city, had the most diversity, the most
the capital,
tolerance.
right?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I was really amazed. I think we did a lot of fun stuff. This wasn't the most activity heavy location. This was very, very early in We Trippin'. This might have been like our third trip.
It was our third trip. And honestly, I mean, we were really excited about the food.
Yeah, food. This was a food trip.
For sure.
This was a food trip. Before we were really getting super, super active on We Trippin', we were eating.
Definitely.
So let's go ahead and just jump into what we thought was the best eats in Portland, Maine. There was a lot, and it seemed like the lobster roll was king.
You know, that's where I like to start. Food.
Food.
Okay, so for me, David's Steakhouse.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, the open-faced lobster ravioli.
Which was basically lobster pasta.
Right.
I appreciate a good ravioli shape. So when I order ravioli, I kind of want to put the little envelope in my mouth.
Yeah, you want to.
But that was
bite
just
through
that
it.
was just lobster pasta, but it was fantastic.
Oh, it was so buttery and just like moist, and the sauce was just succulent. It really did melt in your mouth, and it was so good. The lobster was so fresh.
It was good.
I've never had lobster that fresh.
The tenderloin was fire. The clam chowder was good there too.
Oh,
although
God.
in Maine, we had clam chowder as much as we could.
Yes.
Because we were in New England. We were in California getting cans of New England clam chowder our whole lives. We wanted to see the authentic version. And it delivered. It is so much better in actual New England. I was very, very surprised. David's was okay though.
I feel like
we had clam chowder a lot that trip, and David's was okay, but the chowder out there is worth it.
Yes, it's fantastic.
Food for me, we ate multiple versions of it, but I think that the Rigby version of the lobster roll was so good. This was towards the end of our food tour. And the food tour was a good time.
The food tour was great.
The food tour was a very,
They had
very
a
good
really
time.
good clam chowder too. I think it was on
Gilbert's.
Gilbert's
When we sat with the random Asian family. That was a great time.
Oh man, so
that was
good.
a great time.
They were so fascinated with us.
Yeah, I really felt like we were getting the authentic Maine experience. But yeah, the chowder was really, really good. I would say that the lobster roll at Rigby's was probably my favorite, just because the lobster everywhere we ate was fire. But it was something about the bread at Rigby's. It was like this super,
it was like a
super
Texas toast type.
Yeah, it was like super buttery, super toasty. That bread that when you eat it on a sandwich, you would be like, oh, I would eat this bread by itself.
Absolutely.
So that mixed in, but all the lobster rolls we had that trip.
Little
was
garlic butter toast bread, but super thick. Yeah. And then when you bite it, you think that it's going to be hard because it's so thick, but then it's soft and crunchy. It's just
and we're used to all the imitation lobster out here. It might be a little chewy, and we accept it. But out there, you saw the claw. You were eating this.
Yes.
Eating the
Cooked
claw,
to
and
perfection.
it was so good.
Yes.
The food was great. I mean, even between this and Maryland, New England, food-wise, I'm sold. Activity-wise, we were on our retirement home swag this time. We were doing a lot of little boat trips, car trips, really just taking in the city. We weren't doing a lot of like extreme anything.
Right.
you know?
It wasn't too activity heavy.
Yeah.
But we did get to see some of your favorite things in the world. Lighthouses. Why do you like lighthouses so much?
A lot of people don't know this about me. I am a lighthouse nerd.
Freak.
And it's not...
Sorry.
I mean, they're both offensive. But something about the design, like the designs of most lighthouses are so cool.
They are.
And it's never just like a basic building. And architecture is big for me. That's why I love traveling. When you travel, you get to see the older cities, the ones that aren't so modern. And the architecture is so dope. And the lighthouses out there were some that were like the Rams Island one that was made of stone. Old as hell.
Super unique.
So cool. And I really, really like how they look. And you guys will see later in the season when we go to Canada, we find a couple more lighthouses. That's like my thing.
Yeah, you've actually turned me on to them because, I mean, to be honest, before you said it was your thing, I hadn't really seen one outside
it's random,
of
so you're like, I didn't even really think about it.
Yeah, the one in Long Beach.
I like that one too.
Yeah, that one's really cool. But you know, you just kind of like, you don't really think about it too much. But once I started paying attention to them, I'm like,
it's one of those random things.
These are really cool. So I actually found myself being excited about it.
I'm glad I wasn't just dragging you on one of the things I was nerding out on. But that actually just brings me right into my favorite activity, which was the lighthouse tour. The lighthouse tour, even though it was really cool going up to like the bug light, the headlight was probably my favorite lighthouse of the trip. But just getting on a boat, not only seeing like the beautiful water and all the boats and the harbor life of Portland, we got to see like all of them at once. And it was like my first time seeing them. I got to learn about them. There were forts and all this kind of stuff. So I think that was definitely my favorite. And then the icing on the cake was we had fire lobster rolls there too on the boat. I don't really trust cruise ship food like that, but they killed them. Though that was probably like the freshest version of a lobster roll we had out there.
It was so
even
good.
though I like the bread from Rigby's more. But yeah, that was.
And I was starving on that boat, so y'all saw how I chomped down on that lobster roll. Do you remember all the lighthouses you saw?
Yep, there was the bug light. There was the spooky one. The spooky one that was like red. There was the Rams Island, which was the stone one, and then the Heads Light, which was the big one headlight. That had like I think that was the one we had like the photo ops at and all that. Yeah.
I think for activities, my favorite was actually a lighthouse. And it was the Spring Point Ledge.
That was the name of it.
Yes.
The spooky one.
Yes. It was so fun around there.
It was like Courage the Cowardly Dog. I just felt like some weird cartoon monster was going to pop out.
Yeah. We saw a hanging skeleton, for God's sake. So that was, honestly, it was really cool. We saw those cannons. So
Maine wasn't to be trifled with. They were ready.
What else did we see? So when we walked over to the actual,
it's like a little
lighthouse,
spooky, like climb up, and we had to go down the stairs. There was like trees.
It was so forest. I felt like Alice in Wonderland.
It was weird.
Like
it was definitely weird.
You always tend to pull me through something like really scary. Like
I didn't force you to do that. We wanted to do it.
To notice this.
Wait. The treacherous part was going up to the lighthouse. There was, it said hazardous. There were waves that were crashing because it was a little later in the night. And, when the sun goes down, the waves kind of act up. So there was just like this weird, like rocky path that like waves, like increasingly powerful waves were crashing against. And that's how you went to it. So I even was the one that said, let's not do that.
You halted
I'm
it
okay.
because
I'm not trying to get swept away.
I was turned up, and I'm like, no, come on.
Fam.
And when I tell you, I was stopped in my tracks once I saw the last step, and it was almost a little hop down to some unstable rocks.
Oh no, that was the blackest moment in We Trippin'. We said, oh, never mind. We just gonna hang out by these cannons.
Watch from afar. And so, yeah, we got a chance to be goofy around there and just have some fun. So and it was sunset. So during the sunset time, you just get to see the beauty of the colors.
The sky was insane. There was the cotton candy colors.
Oh, it was beautiful.
The Maine sunset was very, very, very memorable.
It was extremely beautiful. So each lighthouse that we visited made me a fan.
Yeah, it's a cool aesthetic. If you guys are in a town with lighthouses and you didn't care like that, pull up. Maybe you'll become a fan too. All right, well, let's get into this skin tuition because I feel like that's the biggest part of this. This was definitely a food trip.
Oh, meat and potatoes.
But a big part of the trip was like, should we go to Maine? Are there black people in Maine? How is it going to be? What was your skin tuition while visiting Portland?
I was just hoping to see more of us around, and we were sprinkled in there. We were little pepper flakes.
Yeah, very few and far between. They were cool though. All the black people we met are always cool. I don't know what it is.
Very cool, but I felt comfortable in Portland.
Portland had Maine city vibes. I feel like like I said before, like the few black people we met were probably there on like a work trip or something, and they thought the same thing. Like I never knew what was going on in Maine, but it's pretty chill. We did go to a bar that had signage that was like, we don't serve Proud Boys, and we were like, okay, I've never even seen that sign before. We went in, we talked to the bartender, we were like, hey, what's going on with are there Proud Boys around here? And they're like, not typically, but there have been marches like the next city over pretty recently. So it was just a peek into a whole other culture where it's like, don't trip, you good, but there's some very, very age old American going on around here that might go left. So
it made me think there's some sundown towns around.
Oh, and there were. So I already know your skin tuition. Tell me about our trip to New Hampshire.
Oh, man. Okay, so our trip to New Hampshire, I was really excited about it because I'm like, oh, we're venturing off to another state to see what they got around. I don't know what it was, but as soon as we crossed that state line into the city, the first city that was supposed to be really popular, it was just an overwhelming sense of uncomfortableness.
Them sundown towns.
Yeah, it didn't feel right. And so I know that, we stopped at a little restaurant, didn't really go in because I think they were closed, used the restroom, and I was just like, I'm not really feeling this too much. We're not staying here, so we got to drive back. It's going to be dark driving back. So I was terrified.
Well, I mean, I think that you kind of have to weigh the point of why you go like some places, because some places you go where it's just like, I'm going here to see this natural phenomenon. If you're going to one of the wonders of the world and it just happens, oh, there it happens. I'm glad we talked about it. The magnet. If you're going to a place that's a wonder of the world and that it just around there happens to be racist, you just got to put up with that to see that wonder of the world. So the point of us going was to see the leaves, and the leaves were fantastic. I would actually go back to New Hampshire. But I mean, there was a couple towns we drove through. There was like little like graveyards, because when there's like a really, really small town, they have their own graveyard, everything. So there was like the Police Lives Matter flags, one flag, American flag too many. When there's a lot of flags just representing different organizations, you'd be like, okay, it's a little weird. But just to be fair, California's the same way. When you leave the main cities, there's a lot of weird little small towns. So I don't want to put I don't want to say that New Hampshire's like that. I just want to say that our route to where we were going, it just felt a little weird. Now, if there was like a main city of New Hampshire, we might have another experience similar to Portland.
See, I don't have it. I don't have a full feel of New Hampshire. I just know.
Yeah, we went on the edge.
At the time when we first got there, that's how I felt. And then I knew we had to drive back, and it was getting late because we didn't start driving to New Hampshire until about 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock.
That was actually my second activity. Because the trip up there was fun. The trip back was exciting because I was a passenger princess. She was driving. It was dark. It was raining. I was just like, oh, this is crazy. I was filming, so.
I was terrified. That was one of the worst drives I've ever driven in my life. It started raining. We were in the middle of the woods. Driving in New Hampshire.
It was fun, though.
Police Lives Matter flags.
It was fun, though.
And he was just loving it. And I'm over here like,
we made it. And then we went to the Steakhouse, which was your favorite meal of the trip. All right.
I needed that, okay?
So, any travel hacks that you learned?
I would say on day one of your trip, you should book maybe some type of tour to go on for whatever your interests are. So if you're looking for food, we did the food tour. I think we did the food tour on the last day of the trip. But if you're going to do tours on day one, that really gives you a sense of where you want to go throughout the rest of your trip.
Yeah.
Because you get like little samples of stuff everywhere you go, so you don't get to actually like fully dine into those places.
Right.
So if you like the ambiance, you like the atmosphere, you like the food from the tours, you get to you get a little taste of it, so you can go back later for your trip, and you know that these are the best places to go in the city. So I found that to be very useful.
It's a cool little sample of the city, and there's different types of tours. It doesn't just have to be a city tour, which is probably the most boring version of a tour, just looking and pointing at stuff. There's food tours. We've been on ghost tours. We've been on like firework boat, what was it? The Niagara Falls tours. You could just look for like different types of tours that kind of like more pique your interest. And we found that the earlier we do that, the better our vacation is, because now it's like, oh, we had a sense of the city.
And if you let go of that, I don't think we tried to be cool at all in any of these trips.
Clearly.
So if you let go of the being cool, or I want to do things that only seem cool, you're going to miss out on a lot of the aesthetics
like
of the
a
city.
lighthouse tour.
Right. All right.
I feel like my travel tip is to find a place that really represents that state in your mind. You know, our Airbnb was like right in the center of just like a regular residential neighborhood. It just felt like Maine to me. You know, we had like a upstairs rooftop patio where you can just see all the rooftops of all the other houses. And usually when we go to a place on Trippin, we try to go for like luxury. We want to stay somewhere nice. And that sometimes doesn't give you like a authentic like experience in the city. So I felt like we were right in the middle of where everything was happening, just going to like a bar on a random night and seeing what hip hop night looks like in Portland, Maine on like a random Monday or something like that.
Funny.
It was just such a great experience, and it was just so unique. So yeah.
Definitely the place we stayed was super, super different than what we're used to as far as size is concerned. The washers and dryers, the showers, like everything was just so different than what we're used to. The stairs were, I swear, the stairs were
like New York,
one of the narrowest stairs that I think I've gone up and down. I think in the video I go like this just to show you the width of the staircase, and I really enjoyed it. Because I haven't been in a place like that, so I'm glad we did do something that gave us a more comfortable feel, because it was very cozy and comfortable in the place that we stayed. Yeah, but it also had that pop of luxury with that rooftop.
I think we did a good job at like finding a spot and kind of just experiencing Maine as a first timer. You know, obviously if we had like a local who could show us all the like the low key spots, you know, we would have a different experience. But I really enjoyed my first time in Maine, especially, you know, just always wondering like what the heck is going on out there. Right. It was surprisingly close to Family Guy.
Yeah.
But there you have it. I hope we inspired some Black people to go and check it up out there. Be safe. But as always, I've been Patrick Cloud.
And I'm Persephone.
Keep your bags packed. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Seattle, Washington, home of the Space Needle, the Seahawks, and Starbucks coffee. Seattle has the highest rate of UFO sightings per capita in the entire country. That has nothing to do with why we're here, just a cool fact. We stopped in Seattle on our way to Vancouver, Canada. Neither of us had been before. The hotel was a cozy lodge called Edgewater, and you could see why. It was right on the waters of Elliott Bay, and I mean it was right on the water.
Y'all know by now one of the first things we plan to do when we touch down is either walk the city or have a drink. So we headed out on the town.
We walked down to the public market to get a literal taste of Seattle culture.
We walked through what looked like an indoors farmer's market and a mall with lots of cool shops and eateries.
We wandered into this cool little bookstore that had a vintage vibe to it. Outside, there were all types of food vendors lining the streets. We walked around and ended up at a local restaurant called the Pink Door. The place was full of wild antiques. We wanted to get a small plate so we could keep exploring, so we ordered some fried rice balls stuffed with cheese and a drink called Tickled Pink. Pause. It's holiday Eve.
Ooh, you like it?
That is different. Just beyond the public market, we spotted some water and came over to get a better view.
The city looked beautiful. Something about the carnival games mixed in with the yellow cranes just looked great. The city was a true sight to see. The streets were filled with trees and brilliant fall colors. I like calling them brilliant. Makes me feel like Harry Potter. We stumbled upon what seemed like a local tradition. These vendors were tossing this fish around. Odd, but intriguing.
Okay.
Okay, if that's what entertainment is.
So we doing in Seattle, huh? Throwing fish to each other? Fish catch? Is that catching fish?
What is the face?
We heard Seattle had amazing Vietnamese food, so we ate at this spot called Hot as Pho. Love the pun. That broth was so perfect for this weather.
We then walked past the first Starbucks. We didn't stop in there because there was way too many people in there. Being all touristy again, we stopped to watch a choir of carolers sing joyous tunes. It was quite refreshing.
It was our first time in Seattle, so you know we had to be tourists and go see the Space Needle. But not before looking through the well-placed gift shop. Just look at all these toys.
Once you're up there, you got 2 floors, the top deck and then the glass floor. That's down the inner stairs.
The views were incredible. The glass floor part, not so much. I kept thinking it was gonna crack. Final Destination ruined my brain.
You first.
Me first? Me?
Uh-huh. Go for it. Oh, she's doing it easily. Whoa. Oh, she's gonna take you with her. Oh, that's
Come on.
I hate it. Oh, I hate it. Oh, I hate it. I don't like it. Everybody else seems to not have any problems with it.
How you feeling? What's going through your head?
Getting off?
Come here.
No, that did it for me. This is simulated suicide. I don't like this at all.
Patrick was terrified of the glass bottom, which was extremely satisfying for me. Payback for the cemetery in Maryland.
Look at it. It's too scary. I don't like it. You hear me? Just teetering above death.
We went in the evening so we could see the skyline during the sunset. It was breathtaking.
How you feel about this view?
Seattle is it. I'm a Seahawks fan.
After all our adventures, guess what? We were hungry again. So we walked back to the Edgewater and tried their in-house restaurant called the 6-7. And we could have ate there about 6-7 more times because it was bussin'. We started with some beef sliders, then we got into the main course, roasted chicken and a ribeye. Food is always a great way to end the day. The next day, we got up early and headed to the train station. Next stop, Vancouver, Canada. After a short wait, we hopped on the train.
It was our first time taking a train to another country. They had food available that was,
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Off the right-hand side is the Ballard Box connecting Lake Union with Puget Sound. Great photo opportunity.
The shoreline view was incredible. So glad we didn't fly. Seattle was a short trip, but we had no idea just how many times we would randomly be back on We Trippin'. Stay tuned, but for now, keep your bags packed. All right, that was Seattle. Seattle. We are in the We Trippin' headquarters, and this is a funny city for us. This is definitely a funny city for us. This was a quick trip but this is not the last you guys will see of Seattle.
Seattle rears its head many times throughout We Trippin'.
It must have like some magnetic force because like throughout We Trippin', we've had layovers in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
We've been stuck in Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
Like this was the first time we went
sleepless.
there. Sleepless in Seattle? Was that like a
a
rom-com?
I'm sorry. Look, I had to.
This was one of my favorite Seattle trips, just because it was so purposeful. I feel like there was a little stank in our other trips because we were just like, layover, we stuck.
We kind of had to be there, like
right.
We had no choice but to be there. So.
But I mean, what a great city to be stuck in. I'm a big fan of Seattle.
Yeah, I originally wanted to see the Space Needle, so I was like, we have to do that. And so it seems like Seattle is kind of like a hub for if you're going anywhere in the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah.
You know,
huge,
so
big old airport. But apparently it's a very creative hub too. Because we were seeing everything. I mean, like Starbucks started out there. It just like, it was cool to see like the genesis of so many things that is like a part of our real life. And I don't know, just like everything from the skyline to just like, you know, I mentioned in the episode, they had like this crazy mixture of like modern buildings, but also like cranes. I don't know if it was just like downtown is like really under construction or if that has to do with like the harbor or something, but it just looked really cool. It's very industrial fun.
It looked like industrial art.
Right. Yeah, like the Ferris wheels and everything. Yeah.
It was beautiful and kind of like you said, the mixture of like culture, but also like shops and eateries. Like it seemed, I was talking about this on the VO a little bit, how it kind of looks like an open indoor farmer's market mixed with a mall, mixed with a food court, mixed with like so many different like things, seeing people throwing fish like back and forth from the counter. And
I love like taking peeks into other people's cultures. I don't know if that's like a Seattle thing or if everybody with us was like, what the heck's going on here? But it's just always cool to see things that are just worlds different than the city that you're from.
And this, I've been to Seattle before, but not as a tourist. You know, like friends will invite you out, you come out, you guys party, hang, whatever, but you don't actually get to see the city. So this was the first time I actually got to be a tourist in Seattle, which is a completely different experience.
Very, very pretty city. Our hotel was like this giant lodge that was literally on the bay. Like I don't think I've ever been that close to water from my room. I just like how everything was walking distance. I feel like We Trippin', it's kind of a crapshoot whether we are in a city where we can walk around or we have to like Uber everywhere. But the cities where we can just walk everywhere, those are the ones that have the best footage to me, because you get to just see everything, not just like place. We got to see the transit, the walks, the drives, all that stuff.
Boy, we love to shoot, so.
So we didn't eat a lot this day.
You know, we didn't,
This was probably our least amount of eating.
We went to like 2 places.
Went to a couple places, and a lot of them was just like, here's the thing. We try to do this thing where we're like, all right, we're just going to eat like one thing here, and then we're going to have our appetite, and then we can go to a different place, and then that way we can go to like several restaurants, but we never make it. We always
never make it because the appetizers end up fulfilling us.
They're so good.
Yeah, they're good. We end up fulfilled off of an appetizer. We go somewhere else, and we're like, hey, we're not hungry.
And then we look like birds because we just had one thing of rice balls, and then we don't end up eating again. And they're like, that was it for both of y'all? All right, well, speaking of which, let's just get into these Seattle foods, these Seattle eats. There wasn't a crazy amount, but what was your favorite?
My favorite, I almost started sweating because it was hot as fuck. That was the name of the restaurant.
It's a rough episode for you. This is a rough one.
No, we went to a Vietnamese spot called Hot as Pho, and I mean, we had kind of done our research, so we knew that Seattle was kind of known for their Vietnamese food. So we stopped at Hot as Pho, and that
was really good.
That was so good.
I like how random it was. Like this wasn't like a TripAdvisor, a local suggestion. We didn't look this up. We were just walking and we were like, pho. We've heard about all the Vietnamese food here. We tried it and it was actually really good. It was cold. The weather was cold.
Well, I was
which means that the pho was amazing to have. I was a big fan. You got the veggie and I got the brisket.
I always get meatless pho. So I'll get a chicken broth, but
no meat.
No meat in it.
You don't like how it like cooks in the.
I don't. I'm not a huge fan of meat inside of my pho, so I always get it like that, and it's delectable. And I'm very picky when it comes to pho as well. Most pho places I actually don't like.
I like this one.
So this one, for me to
good.
say it was really good. Like
I don't typically. I'm more ramen over pho. A lot of bean sprouts and fuzz. It's just a little crunchy for me. But I really like hot as pho.
Bean sprouts.
And I love a good pun for a pho restaurant. That lets me know it's not really authentic. Like if it's like 24/7, I'd rather it just be like a straight up like Vietnamese Asian name like pho 100. Pho 600, something like that. That's just like pho restaurant. My favorite food of this trip had to be the in-house Edgewater restaurant, 6-7. 6-7 was flames. We've been having a lot of good luck with the in-house hotel restaurants. It's really hit or miss, especially in Vegas. But it seems like in these random cities, it's like they have like gourmet, amazing food right there in the hotel. Makes you really not want to leave. And this spot, we had like the roasted chicken, the ribeye, the sliders, and it was after a day of wandering around. We were walking that day.
Yeah, we were.
We were really
Big-time
walking.
explorers.
So for us to just be having like a little appetizer here, a soup here, that was a hearty meal at the end of the day.
It was very good, and most of the time when I go to hotels and I'm only staying for like a day or so, I usually get the burger. That's my thing, hotel burgers.
Technically the sliders.
So you got a taste of that. That food was phenomenal. It was one of the better.
Views were good. Had a little fireplace, little bears everywhere.
The vibe was definitely there. Low lit. When it comes to hotel restaurants, you don't typically have like those high expectations for the food. Like you're like, okay, it should be good, but that one was like that was like 5-star.
Something must have happened in the hotel restaurant business, like where they're just like, let's step it up. Let's make it so that people don't even want to leave.
Right? So good.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, let's push on to these activities because I'm excited about mine. Mine is very I feel like it's not really regular for how we typically do things. Okay. It's usually like an activity that's like an actual activity ticketed or something. My favorite activity was just walking through the market. Something like I used to watch travel shows all the time, and I feel like a lot of them always said if you really want to get to like know a place, go to the public markets, go to where the vendors are. Don't go to like all the trendy, like people will go to a new city and go to like fast food restaurants or like chain restaurants. And this was like such a cool way to not only see the people, but just to like see like all the local sourced foods, the fish, the fruits, like even the bookstore that we went in. Like that was just like, I love walking through markets. I end up not really getting anything a lot of the times.
Right.
But I think just like the visual of everybody with the foods, little like handmade trinkets, just like the little shops and really just seeing like the everyday life. And then that opened up to the outside market. What was it? The apple cider vendors and like all of it was just very cool.
It was fascinating. It was fascinating, and you got a taste of their culture. Like we were talking about, seeing them throwing the fish and people stopping and applauding, and then seeing the carolers, out there singing Christmas carols. Like
going back in time.
Yeah, because we don't really see that out here, at least in LA. And I haven't really seen that in other places I've been. So it was very cool to walk around and just absorb their culture out there. And then to stop at a harbor with cranes over the water. I personally haven't really seen anything like that,
Yeah.
the way that they had it constructed. So it was like, usually if you take a picture in front of the water, you don't want to see a crane in the background. But the way this was just positioned,
It was cool.
it was really cool. Yeah, it looked really
Or
good.
colorful,
So
yeah.
and it was
Better than downtown LA cranes, for sure.
And we were lucky enough that it didn't rain on us because, Seattle's kind of known for always raining.
I heard that that's like kind of a myth. Maybe I read this, but apparently it rains in Seattle like less than half of what like New York and Chicago and like a lot of other main cities. Like it don't be raining as much. People think it's just raining all the time.
Well, I blame the locals because the locals say
I feel like
it
a couple
rains all
locals
the
be telling me
time.
that too, but maybe compared to other cities, it's not like the most rainiest, and that's crazy. It didn't rain on us at all.
Didn't rain on us.
Very
and
sunny.
Thank God. We got to really soak up everything. So yeah. Mine, of course, was the Space Needle. It was beautiful. We went at a time where it was sunset, so we actually got to see the skyline and the different colors throughout the skyline during the sunset from 605 feet up, I believe. And then also seeing you nervous and scared because of the glass floor was just music for me.
It was Final Destination. Man. Ruined me. It ruined me.
How'd you like that?
It was cool. I thought it was I thought it's fun. I think that viewpoints are always a must in a new city. Like, they say like even if it's not like a tourist attraction, even if it's just like a viewpoint on a mountain that you can park and look at, it's really good to just find a place where you can just go up really, really high and see the whole city, and it's always better when you got like a cool little gift shop to go through if they got like a little bar. But yeah, I had a lot of fun. Even though the glass floor was like scary, it was still exciting. I knew it wasn't gonna we weren't gonna fall through it.
I feel like you got through it pretty quickly. Like it took you a little while to get adjusted to it, but once you did, you did a good job.
Yeah.
And it didn't look too crazy because when you look down, you could see some of the like bars and stuff. So it didn't look like a straight drop down.
Yeah.
So you got to see like the base of it. Even the elevator, I believe, going up the elevator was pretty fantastic.
That's always fun.
Yeah.
You always got to get like a good seat. Some people be like crammed in the back, and now you don't got no good footage.
And then everybody kind of rushed outside to see the sunset. So it was exhilarating. We had a couple drinks up there. And it was just a really good time. So
Nice.
I enjoyed the Space Needle.
fun.
I'd do it again.
Well, that's what we did. How did you feel in Seattle? How was your skin tuition going off?
So, of course, Seattle's a very popular city. So we've heard that things can happen around Seattle, but I honestly, I didn't feel unsafe
Not at
all. Not at all.
If there's an episode of us just walking everywhere, that should tell you about our skin tuition. Like we ain't walking around a brand new city if our skin tuition is a little off. I felt like it was a perfect blend of like it was like a coastal city, but it was also very, very like mixed in culturally, and
very
you
diverse.
And you saw kind of like all the people there and the vibe there. It was very, very cool. The people were nice. And yeah, I honestly, I don't even remember any issues.
None.
Yeah.
I don't think we had any issues.
We were there very quick. We were
Yeah.
very quick amount of time, but still, we were walking everywhere. It was fine.
And we didn't really do much at nighttime, so maybe we didn't get to experience that then. But
Yeah, that's true.
if I think about any of the other times we went to Seattle either, I don't think we had any issues when we walked around in the evening.
It's a good point,
either.
though. This was a day trip. So, we did most of the stuff during the day. And that's why skin tuition has to just come from our personal experience because we weren't really out at night. We had to wake up early for the train to go to Canada. So we can't just be like, oh, it's the safest place on earth. And then people come through and it's just like Gotham at night.
Mugged.
But I mean,
hold up. I'm blaming y'all. Don't blame us.
but no, in our experience, I think we even walked back from the Space Needle at night. So yeah, I think it's a great city. I didn't feel any susness.
I didn't feel anything at all. So, yay.
So yeah, this was the beginning of a 2-part series. As you can see, we were headed up to Canada by train. Travel hacks.
Yeah. So that leads me to my travel hack. I was going to say, we took some time to look up different train routes because we'd never taken a train, especially out of the country. So seeing that it was a pretty popular route for people to take the train from Seattle to Vancouver instead of flying, we decided to go ahead and take the train. So I would say, take some time to look at the train routes because they have luxury trains where they feed you. They, the views
trains.
are amazing.
They be having some good food sometimes.
They do.
Not this time. But sometimes.
Right. And the train ride wasn't that long either. So I would definitely say if you have an experience like taking a scenic train, definitely look it up for anywhere you're going, because honestly, Seattle wasn't actually a part of the trip originally. But once we started looking up and we saw that there was a train, we was like, oh yeah, we should stay in Seattle a day and then take the train to Vancouver. That was one of the best things we could have done.
And I feel like we got lucky. That was like a train station that had like multiple cities and stuff like that. So it was crazy to me how popular trains still are. Like I thought you could just, any train you wanted to get on, you could just jump on the back with your hat like in the 50s. But in our winter season, we had planned on going up to Fairbanks, Alaska through Anchorage on a train. And there was like all these cool scenic train rides, but
they're sold
popping.
out.
They're popping. They be sold out. So if you really want like a lit train, make sure you plan ahead of time because trains are weirdly not that spur of the moment.
Even the train in Napa Valley, we did the Napa Valley train.
That was tough to get on.
Fantastic, right?
Tough to get on. We missed we did miss every Aurora Borealis train. They were all sold out. So yeah, I guess that's kind of my travel hack is just to get ahead of it. But my main travel hack is kind of sprinkled into the Space Needle.
Okay.
I feel like a lot of times we try to go to these scenic viewpoints that are like you take this huge elevator up, it's ticketed and stuff like that. What my travel hack is, go early. Everybody wants to see the sunset. We make the mistake of going like during sunset, so you're kind of like on the tail end. You're not gonna get a good seat once you're there. You're kind of rushing. If you're a little late, you might get up there and it's halfway set, and you're like, if you go earlier than you would think, like 4 or 5 o'clock, then you can kind of sit, get your seat, have some drinks, really hang out, and then you're pretty much settled in. You're not like rushing to the worst thing is to rush to see a sunset. Those things don't even match. You sweating, running, just so you can be like, okay, oh yeah, it's so beautiful. Like it's so much better to just get there ahead of the sun, not rush, not try, because people be like petty. They be trying to like, get in there and stuff like that. So
they are gonna crowd you. So understand if you are claustrophobic, that it's gonna happen. So be prepared for that, because people do kind of rush to one side of the Space Needle for the sunset, because that's the best seat in the house. So
get your seat and enjoy.
Yeah,
or else
that's a good travel hack.
Yeah, or else just like do it a different day. If it's 6 o'clock and the sun sets at 6:45, and you like just go to a park bench and watch it, chill.
Right.
Don't rush to get into all that commotion just to watch a sunset. All right, well that was part 1. You can see we are headed up to Vancouver, Canada via train. And that's an amazing episode. That's a really, really good episode.
It sure was. It was still some peaks and valleys, boy.
It started with the valley. Started with the valley. And went into the peaks. But we thank you so much for hanging out with us. This has been Seattle. I've been Patrick Cloud.
And I'm Persephone.
This has been We Trippin'. We are in the We Trippin' headquarters, and we will see you guys in Canada. See you guys later.
Bye. Vancouver, Canada. Population 675,000, and is a popular location for filming.
Not only are tons of movies produced up here, Vancouver is also one of the prettiest places to be during the fall season. We dropped our stuff off and Ubered to a highly rated lunch spot on the water. Or so we thought. The restaurant didn't exist anymore. It was just a junkyard full of sailboats. No other restaurants were around. It seemed like a setup.
So we just got dropped off at a Canadian boatyard, sailboat graveyard. We were told there was a grill there. There is no grill there.
No grill.
So we're just walking. It is very cold.
It is crazy.
We usually walk around these cities, but I don't know if this city's gonna be a walker.
This was tough. We walked over to a little park and surprised, there were bunnies all over the place.
Wild bunnies on a coastal park. We were so confused.
The fall foliage is pretty lit, which is the main reason why we visited.
Nope. Canada is a unique place.
We then hit a restaurant called Boathouse and had some amazing seafood.
We got a seafood platter that had crab dip, coconut shrimp, calamari, and firecracker shrimp.
Bussin'? The next morning, we took a tour around the city.
Today we're going to do the city tour and Capilano. So the city, we're going to show you guys through Chinatown. We'll go through the bad part of East Hastings, and then we'll go through Gastown, Waterfront, check out Cole Harbor. We'll go through the Stanley Park area, which is really cool. And then we'll head over into Capilano Park, where you guys can walk through the forest and check that really cool spot out. It was up to 6,500 children. Bodies were found under churches all throughout BC.
Different churches?
Different churches. So they asked the Vatican Pope to apologize. This is the Millennium Gates. This is what welcomes you into Chinatown. You know you're in Chinatown because everything's painted red. So this is where like all the tents and everything are down here right now. This was like a month ago, this was 4 times as bad. But the firemen can't put their hoses to the building connectors. So they told the police they got to do something. So the police came here with garbage trucks and just started throwing the tents in the garbage trucks, creating a little bit of a riot.
Our guide was super cool and took us everywhere.
We got to briefly see some of the city's coolest attractions. We stopped at the famous Gastown steam clock, which was built in 1977, and we waited for the clock to sing. It was pretty interesting.
But the steam operates the clock. Every 15 minutes it releases the steam and plays the Westminster chime. This park was commissioned in 1888 by our 6th Governor General, Lord Stanley.
We ended up in Stanley Park, which was one of the most amazing parks I've ever been to. So amazing, we went back multiple times.
This is the Rose Pavilion of Stanley Park.
We stopped at Brockton Point to see the totem poles that were visual representations of kinship and family crests.
So that's half the park right there, you guys. Now we're gonna go over the Lions Gate Bridge.
We drove through Stanley Park and headed to the Capilano Suspension Bridge, a popular attraction that teeters 230 feet above the Capilano River.
We are right here. There's washing facilities throughout the park. Okay, we're gonna walk through the totem pole areas and get some nice photos. You guys will go to the Capilano Suspension Bridge where you guys will walk across.
Because winter was right around the corner, the park was fully decked in Christmas decorations. I was into it.
While we were there, we stopped at a cafe for some drinks and amazing seafood chowder.
That is interesting. It's good.
We got on the suspension bridge with a bunch of people, which made it a little scary. I like to dance through my anxiety, so you'll see that throughout this episode.
Jesus, stop. Why? There's other people on here. Oh my God. This is insane. It's not still. Oh my God. I honestly don't know what I would do. I'd probably just get down. This bridge is moving way too much.
How you feeling?
This is insane. I don't understand. Stop. You're not funny. Even the little kids on this bridge ain't doing what you do.
I'm gonna make it. Man, the kids was running. He holding on. I'm just like...
I'm not gonna lie, the bridge was a little scary. I don't like heights. The other people there made it worse.
I'm looking at it. Oh, is he grabbing something? Woo!
People kept telling us to come back at night, so we made sure to do just that. We even had to extend our trip to do so. We ended our tour at Granville Island, which is a man-made island filled with markets and shops.
We got off the van and walked through the lively Central Market. We decided to tip the guide and hop off the tour so we can get back to our random adventures.
While there, we went to a bar called The Keg and got some shots to spice up the rest of the day.
Jazz. Shoot it, shoot it, shoot it, shoot it, shoot it. Whole thing, whole thing, whole thing. Don't be a bee. Yeah, yeah. Nice. That's adorable.
The walkways on Granville Island were incredibly scenic. We saw a duck pond right out of a Disney movie. Eventually, we said goodbye to Granville Island and hopped on a water taxi back to the mainland.
This is just proof that we're walking around the city. This is the most walks we're gonna get.
Later in the night, we went to Seasons Restaurant for dinner.
We ordered the Skyline platter, which is a chef's selection of cured meats and cheese, along with some onion fig jam. Fancy.
What say you?
We also got some exotic meats. It wasn't that exotic.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
The view was gorgeous and the steaks hit too. We went to Stanley Park to walk around and see some of the attractions up close. This was my first time really exploring the woods, so it was a bit scary and exhilarating.
Question authority.
It was real whimsical here, I'm not gonna lie. I can totally see why Stanley Park was named top park in the entire world by TripAdvisor in 2014. I didn't even know we were in one of the best parks in the world. We found a well. I didn't even realize I liked wells this much.
There were bridges, large bodies of water, huge trees. The views were breathtaking.
I'm the troll under the bridge. Get it? Troll under the bridge? Tough crowd out here.
There were so many areas and trails. It was like its own little world. We stayed along a coastal path for a lot of our hike. I can see why so many locals do their morning walks here. I don't think I'd ever get tired of these views.
Eagle. What happened? Was there struggle? Signs of struggle?
Who are you?
Is he down there? Nope. Minding my business. Minding my business. Chickadee.
We looked up a restaurant in the park, and big surprise, it didn't exist. Just our luck, again.
Hello, we're hungry.
A bear emerges from the woods. Careful not to startle it. The black bear has Jordans on. Careful. Skittish.
We even got an up-close and personal look of Lionsgate Bridge. It was massive. We even got to see this tiny little lighthouse under the bridge, the Prospect Point Lighthouse. This was my favorite area. After a lot more hiking, we left the park and headed to a local lunch spot called Red Card for some burgers. They hit this spot. Now, why would I risk my life like this? Anything for the shot.
I'm Drake.
Okay, there you go.
That was the dumbest thing I've ever done on this show.
In the evening, we headed back to the Capilano Bridge to see the lights and the view at night.
We stopped at the bar cafe for some courage juice. I needed some. We also got a plate of meatballs for some reason.
The big homie.
Stackhouse. Oh my god, this is okay. This is wobbly. This is. Alright. This is terrible. This is just terrible. So much worse. This is so much worse. Oh, they have lights down there? What?
We crossed the bridge again and did all the treetop courses with the new views. My fear of heights wasn't as bad at nighttime. Must be how Batman feels.
It's dope out here. They had different areas that had amazing lighting that bounced off of each other and the trees. I was truly in awe.
Living on literally the edge, huh?
The forest just lit up. What an incredible experience.
Breathe in.
It sounded like I had bad breath.
Horrible breath. Funky, schmunky, donkey. Booty crumple breath. Whoa.
We took in all the Christmas spirit and bounced. We were actually supposed to be back in Cali by now, but we decided to stay another day. At this point, we were obsessed with Stanley Park, and it was impossible to just see in a few days. So we went back for yet another morning hike.
My boy hitting the Naruto run. Where you going so fast?
Apparently there's an old cannon here that fires every night at 9 o'clock. Like I said earlier, Canada is unique. Y'all already know how I feel about lighthouses, so this one at Brockton Point had me feeling like I was in a Wes Anderson movie. So incredible. We found a cool little area to do a photo shoot. I had a cloudy bandana dropping, and this was the perfect backdrop for some crisp fall promo. We landed at our destination, the Vancouver Aquarium. This is Canada's largest aquarium. There was so much marine life in here. It was beautiful. I had to stop at the jellyfish exhibit. I love me some jellyfish.
It was an amazing attraction.
There was even an outside area of the aquarium for larger animals, like seals, otters, even penguins. I've never been this close to penguins before.
Later on, we hit Laker Alley, which was very close to our hotel. It was one of the coolest alleys I've ever walked down. I'm not privy to walking down alleys like that, but this one I made an exception for.
What an amazing city. We can't wait to come back, but until next time, keep your bags packed. All right, guys, that was the finale of the fall season of We Trippin', Vancouver, Canada. It's the second time we left the country.
British Columbia.
Hollywood of the North, as they
Yeah,
call it.
yeah, because of all the filming and movies.
Ryan Reynolds, and I heard his name so much while I was out there.
They love him.
They love
he's
Ryan
a
Reynolds.
fantastic actor.
Deadpool. This city was fun.
It was.
Was this the first city that we opted to stay longer?
Yeah. Yep. We
That
stayed
says a
an
lot.
additional day because we'd be ready to go.
Yeah, we do. But I mean, just in terms of like the fall foliage, this was probably one of the better cities too. I mean, like the deep reds and oranges. Like some of those trees on those streets, like I didn't think that leaves got that red. It seemed like it was a little fake. I was like, Canada, what you doing?
Right. And we were so like fascinated by it that we made sure we soaked it all up by going to their national park. How many times?
Almost every day. So I mean, just you guys saw, but we didn't plan any of that. We hopped on the tour, which was great. I think this was like our most intellectual trip. Like we learned the most, which had me, doing a lot of research, especially during, when we were in production of the voiceover. I was really like finding out more stuff than I was finding out on the tour. The tour guide was great, by the way.
Yeah, he was.
And we went through Chinatown. Every city got a Chinatown.
Yeah.
It's really, really impressive.
It really opened us up to see what the city really has to offer, because when you do your own research, I mean, you can find stuff.
You're going to go to the cool spots.
Yeah, but taking his tour, it was so cool. And the places we stopped were so amazing that I wanted to like get out and spend my time there. You know, like when we stopped at the totem poles, I wanted more time there. You
went
know?
back, yeah.
But that's why we went back. But I don't know if we would have known specifically to go to that part had we had not taken that tour. And then we did some stuff that we probably wouldn't do on our own.
Right.
So we got to get that out of our system with the tour, like stopping at the steam clock. That's saying, ooh, 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 ooh. Didn't it sing a different song? Like, ooh, ooh,
I don't know. It seemed like that was built hundreds of years ago. It was built in the 70s. It was just like a lot of cool things like that, like even the park itself. I feel like if we had just gone, if you just go to the park, you'd be like, oh my God, this is pretty. And you walk around for a little bit, but it really took somebody driving us through it. We didn't go through all of it. That would take a long time, but telling us about like the cannons, the lighthouses, but there was just like so many like historical elements that we would really only get with a guide.
But also walking in the middle of the forest, the woods, have you done that before? Like that? Like I haven't.
I be in the woods.
I don't be in the woods in other countries. Look.
Woods. Now that's the first time I've ever gone through the woods in another country, for sure. But I mean, I just love it. I love it when there's the trees and the water. The seaplanes, lighthouses. It was like everything I like in one place.
I lost so much weight.
Oh yeah, we were walking. And we weren't eating that much.
We
weren't. This was like, you guys are always making fun of us. Like, y'all be eating. This should be called we eating. This time, this was we walking.
We walking.
We hiking.
Exactly. I was exhausted but I was fascinated at the same time. So it's kind of like, oh, I'm tired, but I want to keep going because I want to see this. And then there were some parts where I was a little like, woo, I got a little scared. A couple of scary looking spots, but for me, who's newer to hiking in the woods, you know, it may have been a little more terrifying.
All right, well, we talked about the fact that we didn't eat as much as we normally do. So let's just start there. What had the best eats in Canada?
So we went to the suspension bridge, the Capilano suspension bridge.
Great place.
I was already really hungry. And we stopped at the Cliff House restaurant and had some seafood chowder.
With the salmon, the salmon.
It was really, really good.
I think it was just like, it's almost like how we were when we were in Seattle when we had the pho. It's like some of these foods, Seattle is just the perfect backdrop for it. You know, it was cold. There was Christmas, Christmas decorations everywhere, and just to like get out of that nippiness and to sit down in a beautiful cafe. The Cliff House was decked out.
It was really
and just
nice.
to have some warm chowder.
It was freezing out there, so yeah, it kind of speaks to your point to have some warm soup when it's freezing out there. I really enjoyed it. The scenery, the environment. I'm not really afraid of heights like that. So having a nice full belly before we went out to the bridge and just like saw all the attractions, everything that they had to offer, it was really amazing.
The bacon on top.
But the food was really good.
Nice little touch.
It was.
I enjoyed that. Seafood chowder I really like that seafood chowder, but it's hit or miss when you just like throw random fish in there and stuff, scallions. I don't really like, I don't know, it's kind of, but I really liked that one. Mine was kind of along the same lines of yours in terms of like the dish itself wasn't like mind-blowing. It was the whole experience. I would have to give mine to the boathouse. Boathouse, that was day one in Canada. And it was really just a culmination of things for me. It was the fact that we went to a restaurant that didn't exist, that was a boat junkyard. Then we walked to a park that was filled with like bunny rabbits, wild black bunnies. And we were this was our first glimpse of Canada. We were just like, are we in a dream right now?
I was not expecting that at all. So when I looked, it looked like little black balls like on the ground. And I'm like what are those?
They're cute.
It's
so
adorable.
crazy. And so we're just kind of like trying to wrap our head around that. We stumble upon this new restaurant that's in front of a beach. We like meet this lady and her dog. And then we go upstairs to the boathouse. And it's just like this very nautical themed restaurant. And we just got this crazy seafood platter that had like all types of shrimp and crab dip and calamari. It was just like, it was almost like a reward for us being just duped for so long, for hours.
We were a little nervous because, and like I said, it was cold. So taking an Uber to an abandoned boatyard
wasn't as walking.
And we were hungry.
And there was no restaurants in walking distance. So we were walking around. We saw the park. And then eventually we just had to call another Uber.
We
like
stumbled
20,
on
30
a park,
minutes.
though. How do you just stumble on an amazing
bunny park?
It was so pretty.
It was
you know, we
very
get silly
interesting.
throwing leaves in the air and everything.
Remember that tree that had all the crows circling around? It seemed like a horror movie. It was very, very strange. So to finally end up in safety, have a beach to look at, the sun was setting over the harbor, and we were just eating firecracker shrimp.
It was really good. That's a really good restaurant to pick.
Gotta give it to that. All right, so the food was few and far between on this trip. It was a little skimpy.
Yeah.
But that's only because the activities were so aplenty. It was just nothing but activities from when we landed at the train station. What was your favorite Canadian activity?
My favorite was none other than Capilano Bridge. We liked it so much in the daytime that we extended the day so that we could see it at night. And it was beautiful both times. In the daytime, you got to really see the colors, the green. It was a lot of greenery.
You got to see what was down there.
You got to visually see everything. And then when you went at night, you see how they decorated it. The lights just reflected off of the water and the leaves. And, you know, we're high on these trees. Like, we're high. I mean, these are some big trees,
Yeah.
you know? And so it was just so beautiful how the lights really reflected. And I mean, it just kind of puts you in just like a positive, a beautiful mood.
Ready for Christmas.
Yeah.
Ready for
Yeah.
Christmas. They did such a good job with that place.
Mhm.
And to be honest, I didn't expect any of that.
Right.
Like, I'm not really a thrill seeker like that. When I read about it, and you just hear about a suspension bridge that was built a long time ago, I just thought it was like some teetering Indiana Jones bridge and have some kids on it, like, yeah, swinging it and stuff. Like, I had no interest in it. But to find out that it was actually like a park, it had restaurants and things to do and like alternate things. It wasn't just the bridge. They had the treetop like walkways and I think there was like a place that was selling like hot chocolate and like all these places by the water and
They had
wildlife
totem poles there
sanctuaries.
too.
Yeah, so much like culture from the indigenous people, and it was just like so much more to do that I would have just never expected any of that. It was so much fun. And the fact that everybody there was like, you think it's cool now,
Yeah.
come back at night. I've never gotten advertised that heavily to just like customers.
It worked. It worked.
They weren't just like, yeah, we're here too. They're like, come back at night again and experience it. And I don't even know which one was more fun.
I think I was more captivated at night because of just the lights reflections, and they had like these spinning looking lights over a top of bridge, and then you got to like walk up this cliff.
It was cool that night.
Yeah, it was
But I'm
really
glad we
cool.
saw both, because seeing it during the day was cool for the heights, because I'm way more scared of heights during the day. I don't know what
Okay.
it is.
Well, you could see them.
Well, when it's dark, I can still see I'm high up, but I'm still like, I'm more, you know, I'm in my Batman zone. No, Capilano Bridge was really, really amazing. I'm glad we went twice, but we didn't go as many times as Stanley Park. Stanley Park, I think we attacked it perfectly. We were driven through it quickly with a guide who just told us the history. He told us all about what's there. You know, they have the cannon that fires every night, all the lighthouses, which I was just like, ugh.
Yeah.
They got the aquarium in there.
Yeah.
There's the place that people bike and run. There was like all types of trails within. There was
We
the
tried to bike.
trees. Oh my! Oh yeah, we couldn't get the app working.
Figure it out.
The app was Canadian. We couldn't figure it out. But I mean, like the trails, the leaves, the random things in there, like the well. The well was a great time to me. How boring does that sound? We stumbled upon a well that looked like it was from The Ring, and just had like a whole photo shoot there.
It was such a like beautiful place to just like film everything too.
Right.
We used up so much space in our memory just filming everything, and I was just like, this is so beautiful, this is so beautiful, this is so beautiful.
My phone was out of memory. Towards the end, everything was on your phone.
Right. It was
So much
just
fun.
like, and then we were walking down this walkway that's right attached to the water.
Yeah.
And it was like it curved a little, and as you walked, it just looked like there was nothing but water and sun ahead. It just looked like a drop off kind of.
I know what you're
and
talking
it
about.
was so pretty that we just had to kind of just stop and look and stare. And I was just like, I've never seen anything like this. And the craziest part was the locals are just jogging around like it's nothing. I'm
Right.
like, they don't understand.
It's different. I mean, and we had this conversation there, like, man, like, this is so different from Los Angeles. And it's not that Los Angeles doesn't have the views. We got the beaches and stuff like that, but it's just so different. Like, when we think of jogging by the water in Los Angeles, we're jogging through the sand, there's waves. This was like still water, ducks and wildlife, a giant green bridge, and just like land, forest. And it's just like a completely different environment.
And lighthouses.
By far, my favorite part of Stanley Park was Prospect Point. Okay, that was the little mini lighthouse. And what was crazy about that was the same walkway you were talking about that curved through the water. It went under the Lionsgate Bridge. So you have, it's like a very colossal view. You have all this water with these giant boats passing. You have this gigantic bridge above you, and then you have this cool Wes Anderson looking lighthouse. It was just like all right there. I feel like we almost like missed the rest of our day. Like we that location put us back.
Yeah, we stayed there for a good while. I like to take videos of Pat, and I'll be like, I hope you can use this for your music video. So I'm always like trying to find different ways
I
to
use that for
film
my
him.
Protect Your Light release.
Yes.
The cloudy bandana.
Yes, so if you guys check out some of his marketing,
ProtectYourLight.com.
yes, you will see like we
You
were
shot
out
that?
there shooting.
You shot the one by the fall trees too. Yeah.
It was fire. It was so beautiful out there. Like, honestly, even though we went like 3 times in that trip, I would actually go back.
To Stanley Park?
Yes.
Oh, we definitely
100%.
didn't see it. It's 1,000 acres.
Yeah.
It's so crazy that like you have to decide whether you want to drive through it, walk through it, or bike through it, and each one will be a completely different experience. Which brings me to my travel hack. We're gonna do like a travel hack real quick before the skin tuition this time.
Okay, what's your travel hack?
Because my travel hack has to do with public transportation. In LA, you might cringe just hearing those two things because you might get attacked by a crackhead. But I feel like when you travel to certain places, you should look for unique ways to get around. You saw that when we were in Maine, we jumped on the water boat, the water taxi. We did the same thing here. We went to Granville, which was the tour. We jumped on a van, jumped on the tour. We jumped off the tour early, got on Granville, walked around there, took the water taxi to mainland. Like we were just doing random stuff to not only for the experience, but just to see the city and from different angles.
See everything
from just like every angle possible. And I think between the historical van trip where we got to see everything and learn about it, and then like the water taxi that kind of just took us around, because we never just go to where we need to go. We just kind of stay on there and just go around. But
it was also nice, like with the water taxi, actually like looking at the map and having to follow. Like it wasn't some like electronic device that we're looking at. We're actually like looking to see like, okay, where's our stop? Trying to figure out like the map of the harbor and where we're going and stuff like that. So it was like knowing your bus stop if you were taking like the bus somewhere, like figuring out where you needed to get off. And that was really cool because it was just like something that we're not really used to anymore.
You're basically going somewhere that locals are already going, as opposed to thinking you know everything like we do, and going to a restaurant that doesn't exist twice.
Right.
So I think that was cool to just be like, all right, let's just go with the flow, go where like the culture of Seattle already is, as opposed to like, let's just go here, and being disappointed.
My travel hack would be to, I feel like all of the places that we've gone, we've seen that these places have like specific holidays to those cities. And you might not really know what they have going on or what they do for the different holidays or what they have themselves. Like Capilano Bridge, we had no idea that they had such like crazy Christmas decorations like that.
Right.
So, finding out the different attractions, the different things that the different cities are doing for different holidays, I think is huge.
Yep.
Yeah. Because sometimes if you go like beforehand, you might just miss when they're about to do some type of celebration.
Right.
So you want to make sure like when you do your research for these cities, find out what those like local holidays are or the city's holidays are. And of course the major ones too.
Yeah.
But you can really like catch a lot of stuff going on if you just find out like the different holidays for the city that you're going to.
I think that's a really, really big one, because a part of me feels like I don't know how much I would have enjoyed it had the Christmas, you know what I mean? If the Christmas activation, if we had missed it or gone just at a random part of the year, it's hard for me to wrap my head around how much I would like it, because the lack of all the decorations would be like, okay, cool. It's kind of like focused on the actual river and the bridge, which would be awesome. But like you said, a big part of it was coming at night, enjoying the lights. I don't know how many just year-round lights they have and how many they add for Christmas, but if there was just no lights at night, it's kind of dangerous. I don't know how they would have us walking around in the forest. So I'm sure they have a version of it, but I definitely don't think I would have enjoyed it as much if we didn't get the Christmas experience. Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay, so activitied up. I think that honorable mention to Granville Island, though. 'Cause that was just so much fun. That was so much fun.
Cool.
Skin tuition of everywhere we've been, Canada really, really felt balanced. It felt like there was all types of people there. It felt multicultural, but it felt safe. Like I just felt like straight the entire time. I just felt good. We were walking around the forest.
I didn't feel unsafe at all. When we took the tour, it was very interesting to me for them to let us know, like, all of the homeless population they allow on like one street.
Was that the place where he said that they don't have weapons like that?
Right.
Like there's just no weapons in Canada?
And homeless don't attack. They don't attack you, but the city has like an ordinance that kind of pushes them into one area, and the rest, everything else is...
Isn't that crazy? We're from a place where you have to say, don't worry, the homeless don't attack. That's wild. But that was interesting to hear, because it's just completely different out there in every way possible.
But the people, everybody that we encountered, that we spoke to, I never felt like looked at us weird. I didn't feel weird energy from anyone.
Same.
Like it was perfect. It was good.
And we stayed extra. I do apologize to people who live in Vancouver who are cussing at the screen right now because of all the good food. I remember on our last day, I had that meeting, and one of my producer homies, he said that, you know, the soup dumplings there were crazy. There was just like all these places that we missed out on. So we just didn't get a chance that trip. But we might even be back one of these times.
I'm down to go back.
Well, look, guys, this has been an amazing fall season. We thank you guys for continually pulling up. You guys know we have a whole bunch more for you. Winter season is crazy.
Winters are coming.
Now, I love how the transition from fall to winter was Vancouver, because that's when we started seeing ourselves go from a food show to like a food and activity show, because winter is about them activities.
We was out there. We was out in the snow.
We were in the snow. In random, this is the most random cities by far. Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Sun Valley,
Idaho. Fairbanks, Alaska. Other places. It's a long list.
It is.
Winter is gonna be a great season, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. Again, this has been We Trippin' Fall Season. I've been Patrick Cloud.
I'm Persephone.
And we will see you guys in the winter. Keep your bags packed. Later. All right, you guys. So that was the We Trippin' Fall Season.
Yes, the full season.
The marathon.
So y'all got about 3, 4, 5 hours,
man,
of all We Trippin'.
Yeah, you know, then we didn't know if that would work, but summer, people were loving the summer marathon. So there you go. We can kind of like relive our first fall season of traveling, and to me, like, this was a very special season, even though it went it wasn't as popular as our other seasons, but this to me was a very special season because this was like my first sense of really traveling, like how we wrote the show to be like going to like different corners of states that aren't, you know, super far or like overseas places, and really exploring in like the style of We Trippin'. You know, like Cabo is something I've been seeing examples of my whole life. It was an amazing trip, but it was kind of like, it wasn't super outside the realm of where people go. Miami also. I think Niagara Falls might have been the first trip where I was like, this is like exactly what I think We Trippin' is. And then fall happens, and we're going to Maine, which I always wanted to just see what was up, because it seemed like when you look at the map of US, it's like the head, you know, like it's kind of like America's like this, and this is Maine. And I always wanted to go.
Opposite side of
California.
the nation for us.
Yeah, we're like opposite sides of the, like, opposite corners. And, you know, going to all these random places that I never thought I would go to, like especially the trip from Maryland to St. Michael's, and then Delaware, and then Vancouver, and then seeing all the foliage. It was really, really like a special season.
It was really like, for Vancouver at least, it was my introduction into national parks. Like, I never really thought about like going to national parks like that. Yeah.
Oh, because you hadn't gone to like Joshua Tree or any of the stuff out here.
I hadn't really been to. I think that it's not the first, but one of the first national parks that I ever went to.
Interesting.
And it just kind of broadened my horizons to how different things are around the world, even around the nation. So even Maine, like going to Maine and the Northeast and seeing the actual seasons versus, California. In Southern California, we get like a little pinch.
Man, we'll drive by one tree and be like, ooh, fall.
Yes, exactly. So we'll get like a tiny taste of what fall feels like.
Right.
So going to Maine and Maryland and just seeing these orange, these autumn, the autumn colors, leaves, everything was just... It was just so different than what we're used to. And so this is what travel is about. It's about getting out of your comfortability and seeing things that are even more beautiful than you're used to. You know?
For sure. And it almost like the paranoid person in me felt like it was risky to go to these random places because, when we were in Maine, we were seeing signs about like Proud Boy rallies and stuff. So in our mind, we were thinking that like, oh, this is a place we would never really go to. We're not really welcome there, even though it's beautiful.
I mean, America has history.
Of course.
And when you're going to the colonies, things that used to be the colonies, then we have our preconceived notions, and then places just have reputations.
Sure.
And so we do our research, but also you can't negate the fact that places have reputations. Then that stops a lot of people from traveling to those areas. So for us, we're like, okay, let's see for ourselves.
And that's the point of We Trippin'. And I don't think I was proven wrong in our summer season. Cabo, we stayed on a resort, so there was really like, it was very catered, So it's like none of these places was just like, man, this is nowhere near how I thought it was going to be. And I feel like fall was, at least for me, my first introduction to like, oh, Maine is gorgeous. There's all types of people here, Maryland and Delaware, all of these places. We kind of knew black people were there already, but I think
we didn't go to the places that black people really frequent, like Maryland. We didn't go to Baltimore or, DC or anything like that.
Yeah.
We went to places that
I mean, it was our first time, so we got to stick to major cities. But even our road trip to New Hampshire was a very special experience because it was like, I know that everything you really want to see from a place isn't just in the major cities around the airport. Sometimes you really have to go out into the realness. And that's why I like taking trains, because you get to just go to all these places that you can't get to on foot. So when we did that long New Hampshire drive, even though we were going by sundown towns and places with a lot of like police, Blue Lives Matter flags and stuff, places that we were very clearly not welcome, it was still what I felt We Trippin' should be. We were seeing all this stuff that I didn't think I'd ever see, but it was also like, we're typically not there. So there's still that level of like looking around and stuff.
My skin tuition fine hairs were raised when we drove to New Hampshire,
which was fine. Because we know what it is. My skin tuition raises in certain parts of California too. But I think that is what we really wanted to get out of We Trippin', going to these places where we either thought we weren't welcome or we just actually aren't, and just getting to get our own experience from it without putting ourselves in danger. We weren't doing nothing stupid.
Yeah, we made sure we got back to where we needed to get to before sundown.
And we
wasn't trying to F
we
around
tried
and find out.
No, for real though. But this was an amazing season. I think that each of these cities really showed out for us in different ways. But just to get to the the recap part of it, we gotta start with the Tasticles. That is a terrible name. I just made it up right now.
It's crazy,
the
but
food.
It works.
The Tasticles.
The Tasticles.
What were you feeling? We ate a lot. We kind of went to an area where seafood was king. And I think we had a lot of tasty foods this season. What was your favorite?
Man, the clam chowder in Maine.
Okay, we had a couple of them.
New England clam chowder out there. They were all good. So that's the thing for me. Like, they already had a reputation for the clam chowder. So when we scheduled the trip, I was prepared for what I was going to experience, but it was better than anything that I had ever tasted, especially because I have certain places of clam chowder that I like in Los Angeles, but they have nothing on New England clam chowder.
I mean, it's like almost like the first bite you realize why New England is part of the name. New England clam chowder. It's not just clam chowder. And as someone who has 100% of my experience with clam chowder has been straight from a can. It's kind of like the difference between Campbell's homemade chicken soup, which is good, but then getting your own homemade chicken soup by people who like really mess with the ingredients and
Gourmet.
not all those preservatives. You know, anything out of a can is specifically in there to last the test of time. But I think that once we took our first bite of I mean, I'm just gonna call it clam chowder because we were in New England. You know, they were never like, you want some, you know. It was very clearly like, okay, this is why it became an export, and all the rest of the world it's being sent out to try to copy that recipe, and it was absolutely phenomenal. Was there a place specifically that you liked?
Every place that I had clam chowder in, it was fantastic, and that's why I chose clam chowder. Everywhere I saw it on the menu, I tried it, and it was fantastic. From the first day to the last day we were there.
No, I mean, I was a huge fan of the soup as well. But I think that what takes the cake for me as my favorite food this season is also from Maine. I think that aside from the clam chowder, their big thing was crab and lobster. And one thing they did perfectly was lobster rolls. And specifically from Rugby Yard, this was on Wharf Street, which was this really cool cobblestone back alley that, you know, there was shops everywhere. And this is like exactly what I thought Maine looked like. So the aesthetic was there. And then we went in there and like the lobster had these really fresh looking big chunky pieces, and the bread of this specific place. We had a couple lobster rolls. Some of them were on like hoagie bread and stuff, but this was like some toasted buttery bread.
So good.
And the sauce that they used, oh my God, that stood out. Like, even though I tried a bunch of different types of lobster rolls, that one specifically was really good. And the fact that it was on this street that was just so like filled with Maine culture, that was definitely an experience.
I had a lobster roll on the boat.
Oh, those were good too. The lighthouse tour.
Yes, the lighthouse tour. I had a lobster roll there. They know what they're doing.
Lobster
that
is
was so good.
Lobster is their thing, you know. And I remember the first time I had a crab cake out in like the New England area, and I was just like, oh, this is different out here.
They do this.
Yeah, this is very different out here.
Fantastic. So even if you're not a fan, unless you have an allergy, even if you're not that big of a fan of seafood, like in other places, like if you're from the West Coast or Midwest or whatnot, if you go to the East Coast, Northeast, you definitely have to try the seafood because they might change your mind.
Fire.
Sure.
Well, I mean, okay, so Maine sweeps the food category. The food there is clearly bussin'.
Yes.
Because it wins. Activities is a little bit hairier for me. I feel like this season was very scenic, you know.
Yes.
The activities weren't as heavy.
Right.
But a lot of it was like, this is beautiful, look at it, you know, which led to like good photography, not necessarily like a lot of action, but that's why we went there. You know, we went there for the foliage and the atmosphere. So when I think of my favorite activity in fall, it's a little tough.
It's tough?
Yeah, because like an activity, okay, so if we're just thinking about how the show goes, it's like we went here and played basketball, that's the activity. But what was weird about this season for me was like even just the state hopping that we did, you know, like the exploring Maryland just for really briefly, and then going to St. Michael's, which was like, where are we right now? And then it was like, it was so remote, we couldn't even get a ride out. We had to find another ride after experiencing St. Michael's, and then go to Delaware, and then figuring out what to do there. And it was just so impromptu, and it was just, it was like exactly what I pictured our travel show would be. So that, if you can consider that an activity, I really, really enjoyed that.
Yes.
But if we're talking about a specific activity, Frightland.
Right.
We went to Delaware and talked to the bartender. They said there was this crazy Halloween thing going on. We had no idea about it. It was just so happened to be Halloween season. We take a Uber all the way to the cornfields of Delaware, Middleton, Delaware. Didn't even know that was a place. And experienced one of the most horrifyingly good Halloween events. Like, we have
scariest to date for me.
Like, we have Universal Studios. We also like have the Halloween events at Universal.
Yeah.
There's so much Halloween stuff here, but it's almost like mainstream, you know, like they don't want any issues. They don't want any problems. 17th door is a little different. You sign your life away so they can do whatever they want to you.
Went to the upper room.
But even that, it just wasn't the same vibe. Frightland in Delaware was so dope. Everybody there was, you know, there to have a good time. It felt like a carnival. But then you think that the mazes are going to be weak, and they're like,
not at all,
genuinely terrifying. This place, the reason why we went, we looked it up. It was like one of the most scary like Halloween events in America.
And we didn't find that out until after.
Oh, really?
Yes, we found out it was the scariest in America because of how scary it was when we went.
Oh,
we had
yeah.
no idea what we were in store for. So
Sure.
when we went and we went through some of those mazes, it was like, what? Where are we?
And yeah,
The pitch black
I
maze.
was just about to say the one that they're like, there's no lights.
Yeah.
And there's like little red lights that let you, so you're
At
not
least,
completely
right.
lost. And even if they let us record in there, it wouldn't capture. That's a big thing about scary mazes. Like the camera never captures like the fear of
Right.
it. And this one was like, okay, take out all of the monsters. You're just in pitch black, feeling around. And then there was a point in time where people's hands were coming out the walls. That was such a fun experience. And I don't think it was able to be captured as well because they didn't let you film. But I'm also glad they didn't let you film because it
I
keeps
was
the mystery
horrified.
going. And you don't want to see somebody recording through the whole maze and be like, this is weak, I'll never go. So I really hope everybody gets a chance to
I hope as long
experience
as
that.
they're still doing it, I hope that you go, because I mean, I was tripping over your shoe because I was just so terrified in there, but it was a good terrified. And then for that one, they give you a break. So you think it's over. So you go out.
Oh, they let you
Remember?
outside the maze.
They let
You're
you
outside. Like,
whew, and that
and then
right.
you're like, this gate is locked. And then there's a staircase and you're just like, oh my God, I'm back in it. This isn't over.
That was such a fun carnival, whatever. And then they had some decent snacks there.
Deep fried
too.
Oreos.
Oh
and all
yeah.
That? Yep.
The little Uncrustables, the
PB&J?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, fire.
That was so good. So
Hands
that's-
down, my favorite event. Honorable mention to the lighthouses, like tours and hanging out at lighthouses. That's just definitely like fulfilling my childhood dreams. But the Frightland was just by far the far.
Now mine is a little on the softer side. The Space Needle in Seattle, because that was so cool. It was kind of terrifying to see like the bottom of just nothing, you know, under your feet. But all in all, I have to say my favorite was Stanley Park. I mean, it was so good. Stanley Park in Vancouver was so beautiful and so big, so massive that we went back multiple days.
You can't do it in a day.
You can't. And so we were trying to get bikes so we could go around, but we couldn't figure that out.
Couldn't figure out the Canadian apps. Do that ahead of time.
Yeah, so we had to just foot it. But I'm glad we did because it was
good exercise.
It was good exercise, but it was just so beautiful. And honestly, if we talking skin tuition, you know, Black people in the woods, in the middle of, you know, it's just not something that is recommended for us to do. Yes.
I'm a woodsy kid.
Yeah, you are. But in the grand scheme of things, from America's history, there's a reputation that will stop people that look like us from experiencing that type of nature. And I think there was a part of me at first that was like, but then once I got there, I was just like, this is the most amazing thing that I've ever seen.
Well, you got to understand, you got to take into account that it's a park, you know.
It
isn't random, unregulated woods, you know. It's very much so, like, there's people in it. There was, like, a boarded up restaurant. We thought we were going to eat. It looked like an abandoned Walking Dead type of situation.
Right.
But at the end of the day, like, there's lighthouses in there, the totem poles and the cannonball. Like, there's people jogging around it. Like, it's very much so not a scenario where you could, you know, get in a situation where you're eaten by a bear or like some type of wildlife. That's why most Black people don't go in the woods, you know. And then the second reason is like, are there crazy people in here that could kill me? So you kind of get suspended from all of that, knowing that it is like the bread and butter of Vancouver tourism too.
Right. And then there were just certain places that had views that were just unbelievable. You know, so on this side, there's the wooded areas with all the trees and the beauty. And then you have a bridge right above, and then a lighthouse right here, and then water right here. And then across, you see kind of like a city. So it was just like everywhere you turn, there was just different.
So much stuff to do.
It was so beautiful. And then there was at one point where it was almost kind of like sunset. It was getting close to sunset.
Golden hour.
So it was reflecting off of the water, but also it looked like the water maybe went down a little. So when you looked beyond it, it looked like it was just beyond the water was just sun. It was one of the most beautiful sights that I've seen, and I can't even I can't put it into words.
It's like a photographic gold mine. You know, you can exercise on the edge of it with the water. You can do the educational side with the lighthouse and all that stuff. And then there's even stuff to do, like the aquarium was amazing in there.
Yep.
So I definitely second that. Stanley Park was one of the most amazing. And then you got the nearby places where you can take like a water taxi somewhere.
Right.
If you go to Vancouver, you have to visit it, you know?
Definitely. That takes the cake. And then I also choose Vancouver as the safest place that we went to. Like at first I was a little hesitant in Stanley Park, but then I was just like, this is actually quite relaxing. This is beautiful. And then when we did a tour, they just talked about, you know, the crime rate and what type of crimes they have. And they talked about the homelessness, and literally the homelessness is just one street, you know. So it was just like everywhere we went, the people were sweet.
Yeah.
We got great recommendations on where to go and things to do. And the things that we did ended up being just absolutely fantastic. So
yeah, I think that if we're talking about like safety, Vancouver's mine too. That I felt the safest there, just because there was no like present danger from the internet research we did to what people were talking about to what we've seen. Like you said, like we did, you know, a tour and they went through, I guess, the downtown area, and there was like, you know, a lot of homelessness and stuff. But even the tour guide, without us asking, was just like, but I mean, you could walk through here, you know, it's just they might ask you for money, but it's not like they have weapons or anything.
Right.
And being
They're
from
not
Los
gonna attack
Angeles, being from Los Angeles is like, that's very, very different from, you know, here. So I didn't really feel unsafe even when we were going through the park, you know. And that's not to say I didn't feel unsafe in Maryland or Maine, but it's like the threat of, you know, going into places that have signs that say we don't serve Proud Boys, or like the reputation of a Maryland and stuff like that. We still had to be kind of like, you know, head on a swivel. But Vancouver, as soon as we really got the vibe of it, it just wasn't that, and it just felt very, very, very safe.
Yeah.
But aside from safety and food and activity, what was just your overall favorite city this season?
For me, it goes without saying, Vancouver swept everything. Like it's pretty much.
Vancouver is sweeping the finals right now.
It did.
I agree. This was the first time in We Trippin history that we decided to stay longer. Typically, we have a very strict schedule where we have to get out there, film what we need, get back, you know, get to post-production. But this was, I don't know if it was a mixture between how much we liked it and just how lax our schedule was at the time, but we were like, I think we added 2 more days?
We added because we wanted to see the lights and the bridge.
We didn't even talk about the bridge.
Yeah, we wanted to see that at nighttime.
Oh, and it had the Christmas spirit.
Christmas, everything. So
the suspension bridge.
The suspension bridge, yes.
That was a big part of it, and that's kind of a part of Stanley Park too. So that kind of goes into the activities. I actually forgot about that until just now. But
so
that was a huge part of Vancouver, but it wasn't. There was so much going on with
because we were supposed to
Vancouver.
leave after
the aquarium.
So when we went to see the suspension bridge in the daytime, they was like, "You think this is something? You need to see this at night." And we was just like, I don't know if we're gonna be back in Vancouver, but I think we wanted to go to Stanley Park again too. So we were just like, you know what? I think it's worth it. It was so beautiful in the daytime that, and you can see like where the lights are placed slightly in the daytime, and then just kind of visualize what it might look like at night. And it was just as beautiful as what you would think, what you would imagine. So yeah, so we ended up extending our trip there, and it was well worth it. We stayed in Vancouver like 5 days.
And at the time, that was a long trip, you know? So, yeah, I totally co-signed that. Favorite city was Vancouver. But it was tough because, you know, Maine being right on the water with all the lighthouses, all the amazing food is definitely a close second. And this season really showed me, like, I really like the Northeast. You know, up until that, I'd only been to New York. And New York, it doesn't have nearly the same vibe as any of these, like, quote-unquote New England cities.
Now we got to go to like Rhode Island and Vermont, and we got to see like what those places.
Right. Absolutely. Well, that has been the fall season. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the recap.
Yeah.
And we really can't wait until the next fall so we can give you guys more foliage, more water taxis, more seafood, more adventures.
Yep.
So once again, I have been Patrick Cloud.
And I'm Persephone.
We'll see you on the next trip. Keep your bags packed, all right? Keep them packed.
Keep them packed.